Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime year.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Wednesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. We are the Braden Surprenant Show each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We got a lot to get to today. This is what happens when you miss a day, Frank. We had a nice off day celebrating the veterans that have represented, or should I have said, have given sacrifice to our country by doing everything that obviously they do to protect us here at home. And a big thank you again to all the veterans out there for doing everything that they have done for us and the betterment of us. So great to get an off day. Hopefully a lot of you veterans out there got the day off from work. But that's why we were off yesterday. And when you miss a day, you got to start catching up on a lot of stuff that happened over the last 24 hours in the sports world. I mean, a lot of things don't just stand around while you have the day off. So it's good to be back. Good to be back talking sports with you. And here's how this is going to lay out. We talked about it on Monday. Going to have a lot of football talk today on the Braden Surprenant Show. But you know what? We got a lot of Padres topics to dive into. And I want to start the show with a lot of them. You know, we're going to hear from Craig Stammen a little bit later. He was on with Ben and Woods. He was on with the morning show, and they asked him a lot of different questions that were not asked about him, not asked of him on Monday during his press conference. And there's only so much more of that we're going to unpack, but there's a lot of other news that is trickulated out over the last 24, 48 hours. And there's some that, are interesting topics. And there's some with what are the Padres doing on this particular deal? Let's talk about some of these things. Okay. The first thing that really is coming out is a look at what Bob Nightingale said on a podcast. And that was the idea of potentially trading Fernando Tatis Jr. And he quotes, other general managers are saying the Padres are, and it talks about the finances. I find that very hard to believe. From a perspective of they have all these contracts, they're all deferred money or not deferred, but it's all backloaded contracts and they're losing money and all that. I don't see the Padres trading away Fernando Tatis Jr. for that particular reason. I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that the team with the, I think second most in attendance, and the only reason why they're second most in attendance is because Dodger Stadium is a way bigger stadium than Petco Park. I mean, I'd have to go check the numbers, but percentage-wise, this organization gets a lot of support. This organization, I don't think, is hemorrhaging money like it might have been a couple of years ago when they, spent a lot of that money. I don't find that to be true. Are they making as much? I don't know. According to Forbes, they had $400 million in revenue. Until you see the books get opened, I don't think you're really going to know how much money they're making or losing, nor do I care. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to trade Fernando Tatis Jr. for those reasons. Now, here's the other thing. If they do decide to trade Fernando, I think it would be for a reason of using, spreading out your assets. I think Fernando's got a very affordable contract. I think he's got a very, unique contract. I think that's what makes it very enticing for a lot of teams. And I think a lot of general managers kind of want to, get that talk going to see what happens. And that's why guys like Bob Nightingale report this information. There is some gamesmanship being played about a lot of these, protection, they should trade this guy. They should not trade this guy. First of all, Fernando's got a full no trade clause. So it's a non-starter for me. If they want to think about allocating the assets in different spots and almost pulling if we trade Micah Parsons to the Packers and we use that money to fill out the rest of the roster, I could see it from that kind of perspective, but I just don't see that happening. Because here's the deal. Fernando Tatis Jr. as a member of the Padres, when he's at his best, he is the lifeblood of the San Diego Padres. He is a guy that I think you cannot just quit on. And so if they're going to do it to try to move the money around so you have a more balanced roster, I see that happening more than like, oh, we just don't have any money anymore. I don't find that to be the case. These organizations know they know how to spend money. They know how to make money. They know how to not put themselves in a financial downturn. So from all of that perspective, I find this story from Bob Nightingale to be, I don't know. It's just kind of hearsay. And here's the deal. I feel like I've heard this almost every offseason. Like, oh, the Padres should trade Fernando Tatis Jr. I just don't see that happening. Again, despite everything that has happened in Fernando's career, and I think he's done a great job of maturing. I think he's trying to figure it out. He has made some phenomenal plays in his transition to right field. You know, I think he's elevated his game a little bit with being a little bit more patient. You would like to see him hit for a little bit more power. Yeah, wasn't necessarily the greatest offensive production out of Fernando this year, but the Padres are better with him on the team than they are with him playing against them. And so from that perspective, I think you have to find a way to work with Fernando to get him to the level that he was, and the big reason why he gave him the contract in the first place. That's why this managerial hires was important on the sense of getting a guy that's going to get the most out of the top players on the team. They've spent the money on these guys. They're expecting them to help carry the team over the next handful of years, and Fernando is a part of that equation. So I don't really think there's too much fire to the smoke that's being put out there. I'd be interested to see what they could potentially get. Maybe. I think you'll have to be open to all ideas. I just don't see the Padres pulling the trigger on something like that. And that's something that has been talked about over the last couple of days. I don't find it to be that believable. If it's a way to use that money to get starting pitching and go get other assets and build a team around, whatever you got, like Jackson Merrill, maybe. But even then, I just feel like it's a hard sell to a lot of people to trade away Fernando Tatis Jr. I just don't see it really happening. But that was kind of the big news that we got on Monday into Tuesday when it came to the Padres. The other thing we got was the Padres were interested in potentially bringing back Luis Arraez. Okay, I find that interesting too. Now, from that perspective, okay, this is from Fansided. The report was the San Diego Padres want Luis Arraez back. And here's the excerpt from that article. The Padres have interest in retaining free agent and infielder Luis Arraez, according to A.J. Preller. Arraez, who's 28, is known for his bat and is coming off a season which he hit 292, 327, and 392 on base percentage with a 719 OPS, 8 home runs, and 61 RBIs. In his 7-year career, he's hitting 317 with a 777 OPS, 36 home runs, and 308 RBIs. ESPN has projected Arraez to sign a 2-year, $17 million contract this offseason. That's about $8.5 million a year. I don't find that money to be a crazy purchase for Arraez. I think in a vacuum, when just talking about adding a guy like Luis Arraez to your roster for $8.5 million, I don't think it's that crazy. Now, here's the problem with the Padres and potentially bringing back Luis Arraez. Are we going to have to watch him bat second every single day? Really? I think that would be an interesting conversation. I just can't imagine that being the case. I mean, it was frustrating to watch for most of the year last year. So that's a question. Here's the other thing, too. Again, in the grand scheme of things, I think adding a player, again, if it's in a vacuum, not talking about the situation that is at hand, but for a guy that the organization likes, a guy that the clubhouse likes, a guy that loves being here in San Diego and does give you production in some way. He does give you production. For $8.5 million, it's not bad. It's not terrible. Now, here's where it doesn't fit the Padres. where is he going to play? You need a power hitting first baseman or a power hitting DH. You have that potentially in Gavin Sheets. So if you bring in Luis Ariz, he has to play either first base or DH. You cannot have a contact hitter at first base or at DH. And I thought at the end of the season, Ariz actually played pretty good defense for the Padres. But you cannot sign a guy that has his attributes to an everyday first baseman position or an everyday DH. Now, if he was like a quick player and a good defender at second, like maybe you sign him to be a second baseman. Again, in a vacuum. At $8.5 million, that makes sense. It's not crazy. That's not a crazy deal. But for the San Diego Padres, I think you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole by bringing Luis Ariz back. And so there's a lot of factors in there. Again, I don't think that particular deal would be a crazy deal. But here's where you have to have the conversation. And this is where you have to break it down. We're going to go into more detail about this in the next segment. But how much money do the Padres have to actually spend on their roster? That's question number one. And you know what? You're never going to know the answer to that question. The Padres are going to know the answer to that question, but nobody else is going to know the answer to that question because you don't know the books, nor do I need to. You're going to slowly get an idea as free agency goes about, but you need to know how much money they're willing to spend. You also need to know, with that money, can you fit in a guy like Luis Ariz and still get starting pitching and still get power bats? It just, the situation for the Padres in bringing Ariz back doesn't make as much sense as if you were just looking at it from in a vacuum. So I like Luis Ariz. I think he brings value to teams. I think he probably gets more valued in a Padres uniform. But let's talk about this for a second. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, does Luis Ariz actually fit on this Padres team? Should the Padres re-sign him for a relative 2-year, $17 million deal? We're just getting started on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. This hour 97 through the fan is brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Hey, San Diego, before the Thanksgiving rush, make sure your car's ready for the drive. At Valvoline Instant Oil Change, your 15-minute drive-through oil change. Their friendly techs check your wipers, battery, fluids, and tires to keep you in the game. That's with any oil change. And no appointment is needed. Get coupons at SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show. Live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So the report we got from Fansided was that the Padres were interested in bringing back Luis Arraez. And part of this report, it laid out what the Padres basically are, what Arraez would get, as a projection from the open market. AJ Preller talked to Robert Murray, who wrote this article. And Robert Murray puts in there that ESPN reported, or is giving their guess, that projection, Arraez would sign a 2-year, $17 million contract this offseason. So let's just use those numbers as a guideline. And a lot of this stuff in the offseason is kind of like guidelines. Okay. I mentioned it in my open. Luis Arraez for $8.5 million a year for 2 years at age 28 to get his 29-30 season, right? Or 28-29 season is not a bad move, I think, for a lot of baseball teams. The guy can hit, albeit his average is dropping a little bit. Maybe you consider last year a fluke. His defense is okay. It's not crazy good. It's also not crazy bad. He could bring some production and value to a team. Now, that's like looking at it where we're just adding this guy and we're not talking about payroll for the rest of the team. We're not talking about other needs. And we're not talking about what his position would be. So now you think about it from a Padres perspective, and the reality is, where does he fit on the team? Unless you make some type of other move, right? Like, to me, if you traded Jake Cronenworth to free up money and you bring Arraez in at $8.5 million, you're saving $4 million. You're going from a guy that might have a little bit more power to a guy with, more contact. You have a second baseman. You open up first base and DH to be guys that could be power hitters, and you could probably get better power hitters than maybe a guy like Jake Cronenworth. That makes a little bit more sense. But let's say you're not doing that. And it's just you're adding this guy back to the team. He's going to take either first base or second or DH. And with Jake Cronenworth, he's either taking first base or DH if you're Luis Arraez. Jake Cronenworth's better as a second baseman because, again, his power at second base is a lot better than his power at first base. You need a power-hitting first baseman. The Padres haven't had one of those in years. They could probably use a power-hitting DH. They haven't had one of those ever, in reality. So there's not really a place for him to play on the team. Again, contract-wise, it's not crazy unless you start talking about how much money they think the Padres have available to spend. We don't know what that number is. Do we think it's $20 million? Do we think it's $30 million? I mean, are they going to try to stay under a luxury tax again? They went over it last year, so now all of a sudden it would be a recurring problem. Do the Padres risk that because they know that there's going to be labor negotiations at the end of the season? And who knows if those rules are still going to be in place? As of right now, the Padres' estimated payroll is $201 million. You think the Padres are going to spend $230 million? That would give them $30 million to spend. I don't necessarily know that's the case. I mean, it sounds like they want to be around $200 million. They were $211 million last year. And they got to get starting pitching, and they got to get power hitters. So from a contract perspective, if you don't have, let's just say they do have $30 million to spend. Are you going to spend $8.5 of that million on Luis Arraez when you need starting pitching? And then you start talking about, well, I guess you could use the trade market. to try to get starting pitching. Who are you going to trade? There's got to be, you got to try to find some value with some names that a lot of people don't know about, unless you're trading a guy like Ethan Salas. I don't see the Padres doing that. So as much as like the 2-year, $17 million projected payroll for Luis Arraez makes decent sense, when added into the conversation of, well, where does he fit on the team and how much are you allocating for a guy like Luis Arraez, I'm sorry. It's probably time to move on and go to somebody else. But here's the other thing in comparison. Like, I don't think you're going to get a lot of players as good as Luis Arraez for $8.5 million or less. I still think that's kind of a good deal for a guy like Luis Arraez. But the problem is the Padres don't need more contact hitters. They need more slug. And they got to try to find a guy that is around $10 million that's going to give him some slug, on top of the fact that they need to add starting pitching. So when I look at this Luis Arraez conversation, obviously the Padres would like to have him back. He is a player that is well-liked in the clubhouse. He is a player that, you know, a lot of the fans like Luis Arraez, like his style. He brings you some production. But I just don't feel like he fits into the mold. I think a lot of people would rather see Ryan O'Hearn back in a Padres uniform because he has that power aspect and he can bring, he can run into home run. I mean, he's got to hit a decent amount of home runs. He was an all-star last year. He could play DH and be a power-hitting DH. He could be a first baseman and be a power-hitting first baseman. So I can hit like 25 home runs. But I think a lot of people are willing to spend $8.5 million on Ryan O'Hearn for what he brings to this team more than Luis Arraez and what he brings to this team. And I think what the interesting move would be is if you do decide to go with Luis Arraez at $8.5 million a year based on projections, then all of a sudden you see Ryan O'Hearn sign for something the same or less, and then Padres fans are going to be like, what's the deal? So I like his production to an extent. I think he fits certain teams. I think he fits certain molds. And I think $8.5 million is not a crazy number for a guy like Luis Arraez. But at the same time, I don't see him fitting into this team unless you trade Jake Cronenworth. You trade Jake Cronenworth, that frees up a lot of money. If somebody's able to, somebody's willing to take on his money, which I think people are. I think Jake Cronenworth has played enough to a level where, $12 million is kind of the going rate for a guy like Jake. I don't think it's a bad contract. It's not an albatross contract. But if they trade Jake, I could see them potentially re-signing Luis Arraez. But can you really go into next season with most of the same lineup you had last year? I mean, let's talk about if you sign Luis Arraez. Your outfield, same as last year. Laureano, Merrill, and Tatis. Your infield would be the same as last year. Arraez, Cronenworth, Bogarts, Machado. Your catcher would be the same as last year. Freddie Fermin. And then you have Gavin Sheets as a DH instead of like a guy like Ryan O'Hearn. I mean, you would essentially be bringing back the exact same lineup unless you're signing Luis Arraez to be a bench piece. And are you going to spend $8.5 million on a bench piece? That's an honest question. Doesn't seem like a lot. But then when you start thinking about all the money that you need to get starting pitching or to get a power bat, why would you spend $8.5 million for a bench piece? So these are all interesting questions that are obviously being hashed out down at Petco Park. But I would rather have, if it came down to O'Hearn and Arraez because those are the comparable spots, I'd rather have O'Hearn. Arraez and Jake Cronenworth? I don't know. At this point, wouldn't you rather have Jake Cronenworth? He plays better defense than Arraez. He's going to hit more home runs than Arraez. He's going to have a higher OPS than Arraez. The only thing that would do is, you would save $4 million and you would get money off the books if you traded Jake. It's an interesting conversation. I mean, we mentioned, and these are the interesting conversations you get during the offseason. We'll get more rumors out there. Another one was with the pitching staff for the Padres and what they wanted to do. I mean, there was a couple of names that were brought out of a Kevin Acee article about who could potentially be turned into a starting pitcher. And there's some options in that bullpen. And there are some options that are not named Mason Miller and some options that are not named Adrian Morejon that the Padres are seriously considering to be starting pitchers. Who are these players? We'll talk about it when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97 through the Fan. All guests on 97 to the Fan, join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys helping good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3. The Fan. Lot to get to today. We're going to talk college football and the NFL later on. But here in the first segment, there is a lot of Padres news to get to and a lot of Padres conversations to be had. And we love days like this. A lot of updates from Kevin Acee about a lot of different deals that are going on, a lot of different things behind the scenes, some other things that involve what could be some players maybe being used as starting pitchers. We're going to get to that in a second. But I do want to get Frank in here. A couple of things that we talked about early on. The Fernando Tatis Jr. trade situation, which I think is a non-starter for me. I think it is erroneous. I think it's funny here. How about this? I didn't even bring this angle up yet. But how about you have all these national media people. And I'm going to call them out for a second. All these national media people that talk about everybody can do what the Dodgers do. And then yet what do these people do all the time when it comes to these organizations? You know what they say?
Padres need to trade.
They need to trade Fernando to save money. They need to trade. The Pirates need to trade Paul Skeens to save money. The so-and-so team needs to trade players to save money. Meanwhile, they like to shove down our throats that anybody could do what the Dodgers do. Well, then why do you continue to say all these teams need to send away players because they can't afford them? If that's the case, that means not everybody can do what the Dodgers do. It's crazy to me. I can't believe it. You can't. Something has to give. So Bob Nightingale reported that, on a podcast, that the Padres are losing money and we can't have Fernando Tatis Jr. on the team. General managers are telling me Padres can't afford to have all these players. The only one that they can afford to trade is Fernando. Come on. Erroneous. What is your take on that, Frank? Erroneous.
If you're trading Fernando Tatis Jr., you are starting a rebuild. This is not. Yeah. That's not the position that this team is in.
He also has a full no trade clause, by the way.
Yeah, they have shown that they have no intention of rebuilding with the way that they trade away their minor league system every single year without fail. There's no possible way that they are trading Fernando Tatis Jr. having made the playoffs for the last 5 years, something that this franchise has never done. They are on the precipice of continuous success. Now is not the time to back out of it. If you're going to do it, you're going to go broke doing it right now.
I think the only thing that makes sense about potentially trading Fernando is we're going to send all that money that we're giving him, and we're going to try to spread it into 3 or 4 really, really good players. But at that point, I think that's still a hard sell. I think that's a hard sell.
He's a 2-time Platinum Glove winner. This city loves him. He's the face of your organization.
And when he's right, he's right.
There's nothing. When he is on, he is easily one of the best players that this generation has to offer.
He's also he's going to be 27 next season.
In the heart of his prime.
Correct. That would be the dumbest time. They're only saying this to get Yankees fans all excited.
There is absolutely no reason for this organization with the way it is right now to trade Fernando Tatis Jr. Makes no sense whatsoever.
That'd be a fun game. We can let you pretend. This is gonna be great. We can have Frank pretend to be a stupid Yankees fan and then try to give us the dumbest trade proposal possible.
Jason Dominguez. And what's his name? Oh, what's the pitcher's name? Hold on. I mean, and also while I'm looking this up, dumb Yankee fan. That's kind of putting a hat on a hat. If you're saying you're a Yankee fan, you're already kind of admitting it.
Okay. No personal attacks here. I know the Mets guy's talking, but I think it'd be a fun game. Who could come up with the dumbest Yankees trade for Fernando? Because they come up with some dumb stuff on there.
Oswaldo Cabrera,
Those are still two
Jason-
high-powered. I mean, Yankees fans will go and like grab 3 dudes from Single A, and then
I
you'd be
got
like, "Oh, look, here we go."
Braden Shoemake spells his name correctly, so
Oh,
you're
all right.
already
That's value. Then there's value in that.
Jose Caballero, and the impending Tommy John surgery that is Cam Schlittler
Excuse
for
me.
Fernando Tatis Jr. Well, usually
There's a couple of people that are in New York right now that if they heard that would be like, "That's a great trade. That's a great trade.
yeah.
Great trade." So yeah, we're both out on that. What about the Luis Arraez situation?
I
think in a vacuum, the $8.5 million is not crazy, but when you try to fit him on the Padres, that's
He
where it
doesn't-
starts to not make sense.
Yeah, square peg, round hole. I've said it multiple times that first base is a left-handed power hitter's position. He is not a power hitter, so he doesn't fit that mold. Neither does Jay Cronenworth, for that matter. You have the ability to go out and get a power hitter that can play first base, such as a Ryan O'Hearn. Pete Alonso is not in your price range. It's easy to say go with the devil you know instead of the devil you don't know in that case. But I think again, you're on the cusp of doing something that this organization has never done before. You got to go for it now. If you're going to take a chance, if you're going to take a risk, now is the time. Now is the time to do it.
Here's the deal with the starting pitching as we transition to what I think is probably the most glaring need for the Padres. Is anybody in disagreement of that?
No.
It's the starting pitching. I mean, that's a massive problem, especially since there was a little bit of, conversation of whether or not Yu Darvish would retire and free up some money to spend on starting pitching, or if he didn't, at least you knew that he was going to be part of the team. Well, he had a procedure. Now he's not going to be part of the equation. And so now you have Nick Pivetta, you have Joe Musgrove coming off of an injury, and then you have Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron and JP Sears and maybe a Johnny Brito. I mean, the options, there's a lot of options, but not necessarily something that sounds like a playoff rotation. Here's what AJ Preller had to say about that in the article from Kevin Acee this morning. Every year, every team in here is talking about starting pitching. But especially with King and Cease and free agency and Darvish's injury, it's probably our top need going into the offseason. Kevin Acee goes, no, probably, definitely. Well, they're also looking for a first baseman. The Padres see it as imperative that they add at least 2 quality starting pitchers. Darvish is out for the season after having his UCL surgically repaired last month. The Padres rotation currently projects to consist of Nick Pivetta, Joe Musgrove, Randy Vasquez, and JP Sears. They might get creative to add to that group. The Padres continue to mold, turning one of their back-end relievers into a starter, a la Seth Lugo in 2023, Michael King in 2024, and Stephen Kolek last season. This time, it could be Jeremiah Estrada, Mason Miller, or Adrian Morejon who make the move. Such a move seems unlikely at this point, but closer Robert Suarez opted out of his contract, and the Padres don't want to mess with what was, by many measures, MLB's top bullpen in 2025. Here's what Preller had to say. You want to make sure that we don't look up and have 2 mediocre units. But the idea was briefly broached at the end of the season, and conversations with those pitchers will commence in earnest in the next week or so. Said Preller, it's talking to the individual pitcher and seeing where his head is at, how much he really wants to do that and make that transition. A more probable route is to bring in a couple of pitchers from the outside. The Padres are likely not going to be shopping at the top of the free agent market. In fact, they're almost certainly moving on from 2 pitchers considered to be at the top of the market. Cease and King were both given qualifying offers, and both are expected to reject them rather than to accept 1-year, $22 million deals. That means the Padres will be in line to receive 2 draft picks to be exercised between the 4th and 5th rounds. There is talk that a trade or 2 might be a more likely route to find a mid-rotation pitcher. And quote from AJ Preller, we've had just very limited talk so far. That's what these meetings are for, to kind of get a little bit more sense of what is out there. Okay. There's the conversation about the starting pitching. I would imagine you're not going to see Michael King nor Dylan Cease in a Padres uniform next year. I think that's fair to say. They're gone. So now you have to find ways to fill out a rotation. And I think you have multiple options. You're going to sign mid-tier free agents. It's a potential solution, but you're taking a risk, and hopefully Craig Stammen and Ruben Niebla can maybe turn some of these guys that you sign into, getting an elite year out of them. I mean, you're talking about guys like Chris Paddock in the middle of the deal, right? Chris Paddock, that's the kind of player that you're looking for. There's other pitchers that you might be able to trade for, maybe. That's another option. The other thing you could do is try to convert some of these bullpen arms into starting pitchers. Now, Ken Rosenthal reported that David Morgan might be a candidate for this as well. Kevin Acey is saying Jeremiah Estrada's name. Out of the 4 guys that I listed, Frank, I think the safer play is to try to convert Estrada and Morgan into starting pitching over Mason Miller, who is the best bullpen arm in baseball, and a guy like Adrian Morejon that you finally got to a point where he's got confidence and is one of the best left-handed bullpen arms as well, sitting back there. And as AJ Preller said, and I totally agree with, you don't want to make both entities mediocre by taking the good by taking the good and putting it into the bad, and then making both sides basically even. I like the idea of Morejon and Miller being starters, but in terms of risk reward, to me, a guy like Jeremiah Estrada, who you really didn't trust a whole lot at the end of the season, him potentially being a starting pitcher, I think is worth the risk. David Morgan, who throws hard as well, he's a guy that I think is worth the risk to turn into a starting pitcher. Yes, good bullpen arms, not great bullpen arms, but they could potentially help out the starting rotation. And even though I said at the beginning part of this offseason that the 2 guys that probably would have the most success because they're former starters and Morejon and Miller would come back, but it's a safer play to try to convert try to convert Estrada and Morgan. You're not gonna risk your asset being, ruined. It's not a big roll of the dice to convert 2 of those guys. Out of the 4, pick 2 to try to move into a starting role. Who are the 2 you picking?
Morgan and Morejon would be my 2. I see Morgan as more of a pitcher who throws hard, which I think would translate a little bit better into being a starter. Estrada to me just feels like a fireballer, and that's more or less what he's got. I would leave him in the bullpen where you could use a fireballer a little bit more. Morejon, I think between Morejon and Miller, I think Morejon is the better overall complete pitcher. So I would take, instead of going both from the safe bucket, I would go 1 from each. I would take Morgan because I think he's the most adept out of all 4 of those guys. I think he's the most adept to be able to move to the rotation. And Morejon because I think he would be just as good in the starter role as he is right now. Miller I see is too valuable in the back end of the bullpen.
I mean, he's going to lock down 1 inning, right?
Right.
I mean, that your deal is he's going to lock down an inning, but wouldn't you?
I would rather
want
him
to.
I would
give
rather
you a couple
him,
innings.
I would rather him lock down an inning and knowingly have him instead of trying to stretch him out, him throwing too hard, him now needing a surgery and missing him for a year.
See, the thing that scares people about the Mason Miller situation is that he was a starting pitcher and he had to move to the bullpen because it wasn't great on his arm in Oaklamento. And that, with that knowledge, it scares a lot of people. Mm-hmm. If that wasn't already out there, if he didn't have any of those problems, I think people would be more inclined. But I think with how much value you gave up for a guy like Mason Miller, people are going to be afraid to take the risk of the asset, which I understand. I think out of the 4, Mason Miller would be the best starter, and I think it would give you the most value. in terms of your trade.
Yeah, right.
But
I
if
don't
you-
disagree
but-
with that
and
at all.
I still think you have the conversation with Miller. I still think you ask what his opinion is. If he says he wants to give it a shot, I think you let him in the offseason try to build up throughout the offseason to try to do it. You're going to see his velocity go down, which is fine. I mean, he's still in the
It's
high
gonna have to.
90s, and the slider that he has is going to be a lethal combination, right? So you could do that. And to me, starting pitching is more valuable than bullpen pitching. It's not even an opinion. That's just like a factual statement. Go look at all Fangraphs WAR and B WAR. Who's the highly valued players? They're guys that could get you outs multiple innings, not guys that are just there for one inning. And the thing with bullpen help, and everybody's like worried about the bullpen. When's the last time the Padres had a lousy bullpen? Can you think of a time that they ever had a lousy bullpen? I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of times mixed in. You're like, man, the bullpen sucks. But the reality is the Padres, at least in my lifetime, have always had a bullpen.
I remember in high school and in college and in the years in between, watching this Padre team, whether they were good or bad, and looking at their bullpen every single year, wondering who the hell are these guys and why are they pitching so well?
I think a lot of it's Petco Park.
Oh, yes, I
think
agree
a lot of it's Petco Park.
But the basic point I was making was, you're right. They have always had a good bullpen, and for the most part, it's been guys you've never heard of before, or guys that were given a second chance in their careers. I saw I believe it was Nami Soleimani in the chat asking, when is Jason Adam out? From the original timeline we heard, I would be shocked to see him before the All-Star break.
Yeah, you might get him at the second half of the season if you're lucky.
Yeah, I would be shocked to see him before the All-Star break.
But the reality is, and as Frank mentioned, I mean, how many times was the token All-Star for the Padres in those down years their closer?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one after another. Remember, everybody was afraid about losing Heath Bell.
Mike Adams.
Everybody was afraid about losing Houston Street. Everybody was afraid of insert closer here. The Padres have had great closers. We're worried about, aside from the fact that Josh Hader pissed everybody off. I mean, you're like, I can't believe we're going to lose Josh Hader. Same thing with Robert Suarez now. I can't believe we're losing Robert Suarez. I mean, it's one after the other. They've been able to.
Yeah, Luke Gregerson
was a stud after the fact. They were able to replenish the bullpen year in and year out. And guess what that does? Those are non-costly arms.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost a lot of money to bring in bullpen arms. It doesn't. It doesn't cost a lot of money to bring in veteran bullpen arms. It doesn't cost a lot of money to bring in young bullpen arms. I mean, what is the biggest asset you have in your farm system right now? It's your bullpen.
Yeah.
The only thing that costs a lot of money in the bullpen is a closer. And that's like after they've accomplished a lot. And how many of those deals usually work out for teams that go sign those guys? Like Edwin Diaz's contract. Did that work out for the Mets?
No.
I mean, how many times was he not the closer? I mean, it was back and forth.
Never got a chance for it to work out.
Right? I mean, I'm sure Houston likes having Josh Hader. I mean, how many teams has Aroldis Chapman been on?
Oh, he's bounced all over.
All over the place.
Cincinnati, Chicago, the Yankees twice, Boston.
What about Craig Kimbrell? That was another guy, the Padre. I can't believe losing Craig Kimbrell. That guy bounced around all the time.
Boston here.
Brian Wilson. I mean, just start thinking about all these closers that everybody is. He's so lights out. They get replenished all the time. What doesn't get replenished all the time is great starting pitching.
Like I said, my biggest concern, and if you're going to ask Mason Miller to do it, now's the time to do it. So he has the entire offseason to get ready and prepare for it. Not only
it sounds like they're doing
mentally,
that
but physically.
This week and the next week.
Which, fair play, at least ask the question, if you're AJ Preller, you can't leave any stone unturned.
No.
Anything you think you have that can help this team, you have to explore it. So I'm okay with asking him. My biggest concern is, if he gets hurt, you're out not only a decent starting pitcher, but you're out a for sure all-star closer for an undetermined amount of time. That's my biggest concern with it.
Yeah.
When you can just leave him in the bullpen, you know he's going to be fine. You know he's going to pitch. You know he's going to do what he's going to do. That is my only concern, is him moving to the rotation and hurting himself. And now you're out Mason Miller for a long time, when you could have just left him in the bullpen and just had him be that 1-inning lockdown guy.
It's the risk reward. Sometimes you got to take a risk. And when you have
Right.
the money situation the Padres have, because they spent a lot of money, and when you have the need for starting pitching and trying to find young, controllable, cheap starting pitching, I mean, these are the conversations that you have to have. I'm not afraid about it, because I think you have time to see if it's going to work or not, see what his arm is, see if he can take a little bit off of it and go deeper into games, and see if he could build his arm strength to that point. So I think you're taking a risk with all of these things. You can't make scared decisions, or you'll never be a winner, is basically the point that I'm trying to make with the Mason Miller thing. But it's an interesting conversation. I think David Morgan could be a good starter too. So a lot of that.
I think he's the best of the four.
Yeah, low risk, high reward potentially. We're an hour down, 11 a.m. when we come back. All guests on 97 to the Fan. Join us on the David P. Shapiro Fan Hotline. David P. Shapiro, criminal defense attorneys, helping good people regain control of their future when charged with the crime since 2010. Visit davidpshapirolaw.com. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. A lot of stuff from the week, a lot of stuff from yesterday. I was fortunate enough, I was invited yesterday, Frank, to speak to the old pros of Scripps Ranch. Scripps Ranch Old Pros.
Nice.
It's a good organization that's been around for a long time. They put on a lot of events for the community of Scripps Ranch and throughout San Diego. And they have meetings once a month. And they go to Kaminsky's over in Poway. And shout out to Kaminsky's for hosting. They've been hosting them for a long time. I remember going to Kaminsky's before the first Kaminsky's. It ended up burning down, and then they rebuilt it. It's a barbecue joint out in Poway. It's a sports bar too. Pretty good spot. And they had good food last night. Were able to. I was a little bit late to the meeting because I had to watch the beginning part of Scripps Ranch volleyball. Mm-hmm. Shout out to them. They got a state playoff win over St. Margaret's last night.
There you go.
Lost the first set, won the next three. So they'll be in action. The Falcons will be in action on Thursday at 6:00 against Cypress in the D2 state playoffs. San Diego High School volleyball was underway last night. I think we went 500 last night in the state playoffs. The Division II schools did really well in the state playoffs. Division I did not do as well when looking. And then we have our open teams playing tonight. I know Cathedral plays Marymount tonight, and Torrey Pines is also playing tonight. But I would have to check the schedule on that. So I had that yesterday. And then I went to the Old Pros meeting. The Old Pros meeting was interesting. So I got asked in I think July, like June or July. No, you know what? It was May. I got asked in May about my interest level in, and I forgot to tell Bennett Wood something. My interest level in speaking at one of these meetings. So the Old Pros, they have they have softball leagues, they have all these different leagues and stuff in the Scripps Ranch area. And then it's like a little club. It's a little drinking club, basically. And so they have these meetings once a month, and they do they make fun of people in their group. They do it. It's like a club, right? I mean, it reminded me of like Scripps Ranch's version of OMBAC. With what they do. And so I've never been to one of these meetings, and they asked me if I wanted to be the guest speaker. I said, yeah, cool. I don't really know what that means. I had no idea. I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is that?
Right. What do you want me to speak about? Like, what do we talk? What's the deal here? And they're old guys, right? Like, they're older guys. They edgy jokes. Guys doing guy stuff, right? Some of this, and so
just pros being dudes.
Yeah, just bros being dudes. All right, but they're just older guys. And so I was like, okay, I'll speak of this thing. And so they asked about June. It was the weeks in June. I was in Italy, and then July they already had somebody booked, and then it's weird with high school football. They reached out again, and they asked about November, and I said, yeah, cool, I'll do it on November 11th at the meeting. And so they have this meeting at Kaminsky's once a month. And so I'm at the volleyball game for Scripps, and I knew I had to leave early. The game started at 6, and I had to go on at 7:45 over in Poway. But to go back to the high school, the volleyball thing, as I mentioned before, unfortunately, Olympian lost, Frank. They won CIF, though, in volleyball. Yeah. They won CIF in volleyball. Yeah. Congratulations to your Olympian Eagles. They lost to West Valley last night, 3-2. West Valley's logo is the West Virginia logo. Take that for what it's worth. Bishops lost to Centennial 3-2.
That's called gimmick infringement, is what that's called.
La Cañada beat Christian. Santa Margarita beat San Marcos. OLP got a victory. They beat Arrowhead Christian in 3 sets. Santa Fe Christian won. Carlsbad won. Scripps Ranch won. The Rock Academy won after winning CIF here in San Diego. Patrick Henry won. O'Farrell Charter won. La Jolla Country Day lost. Westview was upset as the 2 seed in their play in the D2 playoffs. To Dana Hills. Mission Vista won, Coronado won, and Grant beat El Camino for the volleyball. So shout out to all the volleyball schools. And again, I wanted to mention that today There's 2 games in action: Marymount at Cathedral at 6:00, and San Juan Hills at Torrey Pines. And we'll keep you updated on the high school playoffs and stuff like that as we roll on. So I go to the volleyball game. They lose the first set. They win the second, and I have to leave midway through the third set. And when I go to the volleyball games, I actually, for some reason, I think it's great to score the game on Max Preps. So I was doing the first 2 games in the third set. I feel bad. There's got to be some grandmother that was trying to follow on Max Preps, and then all of a sudden it disappeared in the middle of the third set. And when I left, it was tied 15-15 with a set each. Somebody was on the edge of their seat refreshing for like an hour and a half until they put the final score in.
Love it.
Felt so bad. So I go to this meeting at Kaminsky's, and these guys at this point, they had been drinking since like 6:30. So it's a loose group. They're having a great time. And they have like their rookies do some stuff. There were some people getting heckled, and I'm like, what am I about to sign up for? But everybody was so nice. They're very appreciative. They love the show, Frank. A couple of them mentioned you.
That's all we care about.
Yeah, that's
really.
right. It's great. Kaminsky, shout out to them for hooking it up for with the food last night. They gave me their buffalo wings, which were great. Some brisket, some ribs. I got coleslaw, mac and cheese, bread. I mean, that's all. It gave me everything. It was awesome. And so I went up there and spoke, and they basically tell us how you got to where you were. And like, it was a little bit of question and answer. They want to know some, my opinions on some things, and, high school football, Padres, all that stuff. So it was a fun time last night at the Old Pros. It's funny. So they have this thing where it's the, bleep of the month. I think you could get creative with what that is. And so they told 2 stories about this. What I thought was the funniest thing. So they had this guy. So one of the guys in the Old Pros, his dad just recently passed away, and his dad was an Old Pro too, and a great man. The Turfler family, but he ordered a pizza for like one of the events that was like honoring his dad to his house, and he ordered pizza at the local pizza place, and the local pizza place is used to him ordering pizza for softball, Frank, because he plays softball. And so he's like, yeah, I'll order however many pizzas. It was kind of like the same order he does for the softball.
Yeah.
An hour goes by, and he calls the place, and he's like, yo, what's the
Did they
deal?
deliver it to the place they
Where's
normally...
the pizza? Like, it was supposed to deliver to my house. And they're like, what are you talking about? We dropped it off already. And he was like, no, it didn't come to my house. They're like, oh, we dropped it off at where you guys play softball, right? Isn't that what you wanted?
Our bad, dog.
And he said, no, and he was like, and the guy at the pizza place was like, well, it's really odd because like you usually tip and stuff, and like the 2 guys that took the pizza didn't even tip our driver. We thought that was very strange. They drove it to the softball place. There were 2 drunk guys hanging out at the park.
Oh,
and they took the pizza,
wow.
and then they didn't tip the delivery guy
What
on
a
the
lucky
card.
Night.
The card was already paid for, though. You got a free pizza. You could at least like sign for a tip for the guy. So they won one of the awards. The other one, I thought it was the funniest story ever. And I don't know any of the names, so I'm not going to say the names either. So they have an older guys league that plays on Wednesdays, like in the early afternoon. So like all retired guys, right? And they play softball in the middle of the day. And so think about how old some of these guys probably are playing softball. Ball gets hit to the outfield, and the guy in the outfield like trips and falls to try to make a play. It's like an inside the park home run. The guy hits the ground. He's fine. He gets up, and he goes like, oh, no. My hearing aid fell out.
Oh,
it's somewhere in the grass.
Oh, no.
And for about an hour, these guys, the 2 teams of the old guys in the old guy league, are scouring the grass for the poor guy's hearing aid. I'm like, there's no way. This is the most old guys softball league I've ever heard in my entire life. They're scouring for it. They're like, where is it? Where is it?
Start yelling at the grass. He'll hear it.
Then they so I at 30, I don't know how hearing aids work. I don't have to use them. I know I guess the technology is now you can hook that thing up to your phone. So
Really?
you have the speaker in your ear. So somebody, maybe, I don't know. That was a foreign concept to me. And maybe my grandfather has hearing aids, can do that too. They're like, okay, we can't find it. It's been an hour and we got to get this game going. Why don't we call your phone to see if we can hear the phone through the hearing aid in the grass? That's a great idea. Let's do that. So they call his phone. The guy goes, I found my hearing aid.
Was it? It is.
It was in his ear. It was in his ear. Oh my God. I was dying laughing. What a story. What a story. I was like, oh my God. That is like the most typical softball league I've ever heard. He had it in his ear. What level of upset are you if you spent an hour looking for the guy's hearing aid and it was in his ear?
No one thought to look at his ear.
Nobody thought that the first time. You know what?
when
you say, I hate when tech people say, is it plugged in? This is why you ask those questions.
Right, but when a guy says, hey guys, I can't hear anything, my hearing aid fell out, you tend to not question that.
Nobody saw him one time and I was like, hey, I guess they would need their glasses for that. That was the funniest story I've ever heard.
I could see my grandfather, who's listening right now, I'm sure, who just turned 84 on Wednesday.
We're going to call that award that they gave out the Win Sock of the Month. So who wins the Win Sock of the Month out of the two?
I could see him doing that years ago because he does have hearing aids. I could see him doing that years ago, not playing softball, but losing his hearing aid, finding it, and then just having all of us keep looking for like a half hour just to mess with us.
That's a great.
I could see him doing that.
I didn't know who this guy. I didn't know who any of those people were. It was like, so those are the two Win Socks of the Month. Today, I think I found a candidate for Win Socks of the Month.
Oh, no.
So this morning, I went and got coffee with a friend.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah.
I went and got coffee with a friend. We went to this place over in Script Ranch called the French Oven.
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious. It's like one of the best bakeries in town. It's great. And there's usually a line, and I think they're on social media. Everyone's you see like the thing that. So we got a coffee, and I got, a little baked good, little postre, the French Oven.
Yeah, you do.
I'm sitting there. I'm enjoying my coffee. I'm enjoying my postre. And in the parking lot, I noticed my friend's like looking strangely into the parking lot. And I'm like, what happened? And she was like, that person just hit that car. This lady's trying to park her car and she hits the Tesla next to her and then backs out. And then it takes her like 35 minutes to park in a different spot. Doesn't even look, nothing. I didn't think she noticed she hit the car. And the Tesla's like all banged up on the side. And like I'm sitting there going like, well, okay, that stinks. At the same time, there's a gentleman there. And he's got his dog sitting at the table with him. You know what? To me, that's a foul. I know you guys love your animals. Okay, I know you love your animals. I know Frank loves his animals.
Yes.
My friend, she loves her animals. That's great. I personally do not want to be eating at a place where the dog's sitting at the table.
Okay.
I just don't.
Couple
Leave
of
your dog
questions.
at home.
Were they outside or inside?
They were outside, but they were on the seat across for him like he was on a date with his dog.
Yeah, no. Dog sits on the floor. I'm
on the
sorry.
floor.
The dog lays.
Do not put your dog in a chair.
The dog lays down at your feet. That's if it was inside, immediately not acceptable. But if it's outside, dog lays at your feet. If it's all over the table, if it's sitting in a seat, that's
sitting
one.
In a seat is a foul.
I'll give you. No, I'm not going to give it a foul. It's because that's impressive. To get a dog to sit in a seat, that is impressive, but not allowed.
So he's got the dog there, and then the dude is just hawking loogies.
There you go.
At the table. And this is happening like simultaneously. And I'm like, what is going on?
Brandon, I'm allergic to dogs too. I could care less. You will never get me.
You didn't
to
know you were
abide-
allergic to dogs until like last week.
No, I knew I was
Oh,
allergic.
you
No,
were.
I did know I was allergic to dogs. It was just doubly confirmed
Well,
last week.
in Frank's defense, he's allergic to basically everything on this planet
Yes.
except for peanuts, which is what he thought he was.
Yeah,
actually
which is
allergic
why
to.
I went on this whole allergy test journey to begin with.
Okay, so anyway, guys hawking loogies, right? And like sneeze, and like it's disgusting. It's at the table. So he's doing that at the same time. As we're about to leave, that guy's like walking in the parking lot with his dogs. There's another dog. I didn't see the other dog. Dog does its business in the parking lot. Like in a main drag, like not in a spot, but like in like a thoroughfare.
Was it a little dog?
It was
like
a little dog.
So it was a little yapping beanie baby as well.
Yeah, it was. It was a littler dog. And it just dropped one in the street.
Mhm.
Guy didn't pick it up. And we're like, wow. Just like, hey, your dog. Nothing. Just ignored it. And then he walks to his car. And he's the owner of the Tesla that got hit from the other lady earlier in the day. He had no idea, by the way. He like physically walks towards the car at the spot, like it's direct eyesight of the spot that is like smashed. It is smashed. It is not like a little fender bend. There's a piece of his Tesla falling off. Has no idea. And he gets in his car and he leaves. So the person that hit his car, who didn't say anything and then drove off, hit the guy's car of the person that had the dog that crapped in the street and didn't pick it up. I could not believe what I witnessed this morning.
The only thing that would have made that story better is if the person who hit his car and him both
stepped in the dog crap.
No,
because that would have been funny.
It would have been funny, but if they would have like went hello to each other, walking past each other in the parking lot, that was the only thing that could have made it better.
You don't get to see two Windsocks interact with each other too often.
No, they usually put those far away from each other.
I couldn't believe that.
There's no windsock and then a windsock testing windsock.
Oh my God, dude. It's just insane. Yeah, he was the owner of the Tesla who got hit by the lady that didn't park right. Just the drag across, it was like it's like that SpongeBob episode where like the Flying Dutchman's going, you're good,
Yeah.
scraping. And then scraping back, and then she went over and then backed into a spot. It took her like 20 minutes to back into the same spot. She just kept going forward and back over and over and over again.
I'm sorry,
It was the funniest thing.
That
And then
has
the
happened.
fact that guy that was so disgusting at the restaurant, even though it was outside, and didn't pick up the dog crap that the dog left in the street, is the owner of the car that got smashed. It's the funniest thing ever.
I've had that happen to me a couple times where, especially when I'm late, usually is when it happens, when somebody just cannot for the life of them park. After a while, there comes a point in time where just all of your anger dissipates and it just goes to, can you just try to park somewhere else? Because you are really bad at this.
Well, she did. She tried to park somewhere else, and then there was only
No,
like
I
a
know. And
couple
then
of those.
it took that long still. It's like there comes a point where it's like, I'm not even mad. It's impressive how bad you are at this because you have to try to be this bad.
Story time is over. When we come back, we'll dive into a couple of the things that I wanted to mention as reported by Ken Rosenthal in Major League Baseball, and then we're going to transition to a little bit more football talk in the noon hour as we continue the Braden Surprenant Show, sending us over on Sports Station 97 through the Fan. This hour, 97 through the fans, brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Hey, San Diego, before the Thanksgiving rush, make sure your car is ready for the drive. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, a 15-minute drive-through oil change. Their friendly text. Check your wipers, battery, fluids, and tires to keep you in the game. That's with any oil change. And no appointment is needed. Get coupons at SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. They make it so easy. Just drive up, get it done, like 15 minutes.
Yeah, not bad either.
No.
They do a bunch. They do more than just oil change, by the way.
They do a lot of stuff.
They check your fluid levels there.
I think they refill a lot of their stuff too.
Yeah, filter changes like air filter, cabin filter. They do a lot of stuff.
You enjoy story time today?
Story time's always
We had
fun.
3 stories in there. We should do a set. Should we do a win sock of the month?
I mean, I'm down.
I gave you 3 different stories today. 2 of them were part of the win socks of the month for the old pros. The other one just like physically happened to me today.
No, yours.
Who's the win sock of the month out of those 3?
Yours is the winner.
Which one is it? The lady that hit the car,
Yeah.
or the guy that owns the car whose dog crapped in the street and he didn't pick it up?
That's all
Or did
one
they
story.
both get it?
That's all one story. That's not.
Win sock of the week. The guy that owns the car is the win sock winner, according to Go Aztecs. I thought the 2 guys that took the pizza and tip was kind of not a bad one. Hearing aid guy was not like that was a funny thing. That's hilarious.
That's just an old guy.
That is hilarious. If you got a story like that and you want to contribute to Win Sock of the Week, let us know. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. I'm glad some people realize that it doesn't just happen to Woods. Poor Woods. He's got great stories for it, though. I do want to mention this because we have a little bit of time, and then we're gonna, get to our next segment. This is what I was talking about earlier on the whole. Like, can we make a decision on whether or not we want teams to, I don't know, be like the Dodgers and spend money, or for them to all trade away their best players? Can we decide which entity we want to be? Major League Baseball reporters. We talked about it with Bob Nightingale, talking about the Padres should, I've been hearing that they're not making a lot of money and they got to trade Fernando. I don't know about that. Again, you either say everybody can do what the Dodgers do, or you do stupid things, or we say crazy things like that. Here's the other crazy thing. Here's our boy Ken Rosenthal, everybody's favorite baseball writer, Frank.
Yeah, I agree.
Where's the we haven't done that in a long time.
I know. That's why I'm lost on it. Hold on here.
I know Go Aztecs has missed it.
For God's sake.
No.
Stop,
Killing the bit. Go Aztecs in the chat.
know.
Boo.
Exactly.
Let me know when you find it. And I'll move on. Fallon Frank. Let's try it again. Ken Rosenthal, everybody's favorite baseball reporter. There it is. He had a long article.
I got to stop being lazy right now.
He had a long article. And he put in the article, he had some stuff about Tarek Skubal. This is the excerpt from the article about Tarek Skubal, right? Everybody's in agreement that Tarek Skubal's the best pitcher in baseball, right? Or one of. Let's just say one of. Let's not start the conversation of him versus Paul Skeens. I don't want to get down that path. He is one of the best starters in Major League Baseball, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. He's a guy that's flat out said he wants to stay in Detroit. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Here's the clip on Scooble. As one Detroit Tigers person put it, quote, "We want to win with him." Well, 2026 figures to be their last chance. Top Scott Boras clients hardly ever sign extensions when they are this close to free agency. The Tigers surely could do better in a trade of Scooble than they would through draft pick compensation if he left as a free agent. But to what end? The Tigers have reached the postseason the past 2 years, reviving baseball in Detroit thanks in large part to Scooble's presence. Trading him almost certainly would amount to a step back short term. A deadline deal might make sense if the Tigers fall out of contention, but the odds of that happening in the AL Central are slim. And another thing, if the Tigers lose Scooble as a free agent, his roster spot would not become a black hole. The team would try as best it could to replace him. What are we doing here?
I have a bigger question.
What are we doing here? What is your bigger question?
With the impending lockout and with the owners seemingly so intent on getting the salary cap, we're seeing a lot now coming out about how much the teams are losing.
You were going to see that all the time.
Is this a concerted effort by national media to really pound home the idea of how much teams are losing and how much money that some teams are going to have to shed in order to try to curry favor with people about a lockout and getting a salary cap?
I'm sure some of that is in play. I'm sure a lot of the messaging maybe to some of these guys is like that. I don't think it's all like that. I just
like trading Fernando Tatis Jr. makes no sense. But
the only thing
to couple that with how much the Padres are losing, quote unquote,
which I don't even think is that
which
accurate. And again, he got that from other general managers was his report. I find that report to be erroneous.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't believe that either. But to say that, oh, it's not because they're trying to make the team better, it's because they're trying to shed money, and listing off a bunch of players that no team would trade, no team in their right mind would trade, that makes no sense. It just feels like the media is trying to help get people on the side of the owners for all of these money concerns to get people going for a salary cap.
The thing that I want to point out of this with this conversation is like, yes, I know like top Boras clients don't sign contract extensions. He's a free agent at the end of the 2026 season, right?
Yeah, if he's gonna do it,
why wouldn't you try to get this would be the only time that I would think a Boras client would try to get a contract extension done.
This is the last opportunity he's going to have to get a big money contract.
I think so too, because I think there's going to be a lot of money changes to Major League Baseball. I think there's going to be a cap. It just seems different this time around. I know like players would never stand for it. They're gonna just hold out. I'm telling you, the owners seem more aligned right now than the players do. So if you're Tarek Skubal, I feel like that was the time to probably get the deal, because if you don't get a deal this season as an extension, because you're going to listen to Scott Boras, who's, obviously, I mean, you pay him to be your agent to get you the most money. If that's the case, you're going to be 29 this year. He's got to be 30 in 2027, which is, maybe not even a year. So you're not going to come back till you're 31. Why not get the contract lied out now? This is, to me, like the leverage for Boras clients, I think, goes out the door with some of these contract extensions, because you don't know what's happening in 2027. That's what makes this market so interesting to me. That's what makes this conversation so interesting to me. But the thing is, with Ken Rosenthal talking about, like, oh, they gotta trade Tarek Skubal. What are we talking about? Like, we can't have a sport where the best players on certain teams are always talked about being traded and how it's the smart move to get rid of this guy. That's not a fair league. That's why that's why the rules are going to get changed here.
And that's why you see it becoming a more and more regional sport.
Right.
because all the best players are on their teams. And like I had to blow up about, who did I have to blow up about?
Different time, different day.
No, the ESPN exciting player.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, who is it?
I forgot who they picked.
It's not. It wasn't.
We haven't watched ESPN since.
No, it wasn't Whit Merrifield. That wasn't who it was. It was
Was it Juan Soto or Fernando?
No, it was the player for the. I forget who it was.
You can talk about it later.
Yeah, but it was that. That's why no one knows who this player is. It's because you don't talk about him at all because he's in Kansas City. That's why. No, it wasn't Whit Merrifield.
No, sorry. It's now it's the it's not Witt. It's Bobby Witt Jr. That's why you thought about
that. Probably, yeah. That sounds right. No one realizes how exciting Bobby Witt Jr. is because he doesn't play in a big market. And because he doesn't play in a big market, you don't talk about him. Baseball does nothing to promote its stars. And the ones that they don't make new stars. They don't make regional stars. They want the regional stars to go to the big markets so they can finally promote them.
I mean, you're in a sense where like right now, like I remember in the offseason, everything was like off-season coverage on MLB Network, and now it's just like random games. They got some Tarek Skubal game on right now. I mean, there's nothing like. Is there anything more boring than an AL Central game in a middle of the day at 10 in the morning? Yeah, I've talked about that before. Anything more boring than a game at 11 a.m.?
And we're watching it now. Actually.
Anything more boring than a game that's already happened that's at 11 a.m. in the AL Central? No. Well, we're going to liven up everything else here in just a second. There's a couple other things that I want to talk about in Padres land before we talk about football in the noon hour. We're going to get to that when we come back. And it's what the Padres are working with. Latest report from Ken Rosenthal about the budgetary things. We'll discuss next on the Braden Surprenant Show, Standing as number one sports station, 97 through the Fan. salary cap thing is a fascinating topic of discussion. And again, I've mentioned this before, and I mentioned this last night because there's people that asked me about it at that Old Pros event. I've given my opinion on this deal so many times, and here's the thing: I'm not on either side. I'm on the side of baseball, the sport of baseball.
Yeah, we're on our side.
I'm on the sport of baseball, which is not the player's side. It's not the owner's side. And in the sport of baseball, what makes it a competitive, fun league that people are going to watch and clamor for, like the National Football League? Salary cap and the salary floor. And the strategy involved of, if I'm going to sign Shohei Ohtani to $60 million a year, I only got an additional $120 million to spend on the rest of my roster, or whatever it may be. And I don't care what the salary cap is, nor the salary floor. You guys, they can make it whatever money they want. But baseball needs it, and they need it bad. And if they got to sacrifice half of a season for it, or a full season, it might be worth it to Major League Baseball in the long term to do that. Some pain now for some prosper in the future. Here's the deal with the Padres and what they're working with before we get to the sports thread that we haven't gotten to in 2 days. And this is what Kevin Acey said. Any talk about payroll at this point in the offseason should be taken with a grain of salt. Teams have yet to establish their budgets for 2026, and such things are fluid for most clubs. Padres generally begin to define their spending power around the holidays, so you got some time to wait. AJ Preller had this to say: we'll have a sense from ownership, keep having the conversation about what our payroll is going to be at. We use these meetings to gather information, come back, sit down with John Seidler, myself, Eric Grupner. We will then, at the point in time, put some strategy together, put some dollar figures together towards it, and get a sense from there. So it's just a lot of kind of information gathering this week. That said, the Padres do seem to be tracking toward at least maintaining their payroll around the same level as it was in 2025. Their current commitments total around $200 million. They're including projected salaries for arbitration-eligible players and option buyouts. They were at approximately $211 million at the end of 2025, ninth in Major League Baseball. After bonuses and the penalty for going over the competitive balance tax threshold, the Padres' payroll obligations for 2025 topped $223 million, which was the sixth highest total in MLB. It is not known how much more they might spend in 2026, but Eric Grupner on Monday reiterated ownership's commitment to investing in the on-field product, which, by the way, they have done, as been pointed out by Forbes, about the allotment of how much they take their revenue and spend it on their team. I mean, the Padres are one of the highest spenders when it comes to percentage of revenue into their product, into their roster. Quote, our goal and outlook and perspective remains the same as it has been really for the last 5 years, which is every last dollar we have put into the payroll, according to Eric Grupner. If we do that, we think we could be at a similar level to where we've been in the top 10, and that allows us to be competitive and ultimately win a championship. So around where they're at right now, which is like in the $200 million range. So very interesting to see where the Padres will be this offseason. Again, they're going to gather that information over the next couple of weeks, and they'll probably know more on the holidays, and then you will kind of get a sense of it as the signings start to happen around Major League Baseball. General manager meetings are going on right now in Las Vegas. We'll try to keep you updated on anything that we see or hear about the Padres out there, and there's going to be a lot of rumors out there with the reporters and general managers meeting and all that sort of fun stuff.
Padres already have a W out of the GM meetings.
Yeah, they won the pickleball tournament.
Beating the Dodgers to do it.
Beat
so
LA.
Congratulations.
Just
picking up wins in Las Vegas, something that not many people
Not
do.
a lot of people take. There's a lot of fat L's people take in Vegas, let me tell you. Let's talk about what else is going on in sports with today's sports thread. Speaking of fat L's.
Okay, really? Come on, was that a fat joke?
No, that's a Brian Kelly and the LSU situation.
Oh,
that's
okay.
a fat L right there.
I was going to say.
You know that group
Worked
chat,
hard
the
on
one that's
that.
always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk. Brought to you by QC Kinetics. Stop sitting on the sidelines. QC Kinetics gets you back in the game without surgery. To learn how, visit QCkinetics.com.
All right, Frank, what do we got today on the sports thread?
We have Louisiana just being very, very, very fun.
Number one.
We got Juan talking
Yeah,
smack.
I know.
Too.
I saw it.
Ignore the haters, Frank. They don't boo nobodies.
I know, exactly. In a legal filing against LSU's Board of Supervisors, Brian Kelly's attorney says LSU has taken a position that it has not formally terminated Kelly as the Tigers football coach. The school, according to the petition for declaratory judgment, is now seeking to fire Kelly, quote, for cause and potentially avoid paying the full buyout of nearly $54 million. The filing claims that LSU informed Kelly's representatives of this position on Monday. According to a copy of the suit obtained by the four-letter network, LSU's representatives had a call with Coach Kelly's representatives where LSU took the position that Coach Kelly had not been formally terminated and informed Coach Kelly's representatives for the first time that LSU believed grounds for termination for cause existed. So when I saw this pop up over the weekend, I saw that Kelly was trying to get the full $54 million in one lump sum instead of it getting paid out. Now we're hearing that LSU has not fired Kelly yet, but are reviewing his tenure there and are trying to find a for-cause reason to fire him, which would keep them from paying the money.
Okay, so they basically don't want him there anymore, but they don't want to pay him the buyout either, and so they're trying to find something bad that he did.
Yeah, they're finding a cause
in order to fire him and not have to pay him the money.
Yes.
And Brian Kelly's suing them for this.
Yep.
Well, that should be fun. What's the governor have to say since he fired everybody and is going to hire people?
I don't know.
What a mess college athletics are. They're such a mess. It's just going to get worse.
What was it? $1.2 billion in buyouts in buyouts this year from coach firings around college football.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's ridiculous.
I don't.
And this is an age like you don't want to pay a lot of money for mediocre coaches when you can use that money to buy players now in college athletics. Mm-hmm. Spend mediocre amounts of money on mediocre coaches if you want a mediocre coach. Moving on.
Yep.
Number two.
This story has evolved quite a bit over the last couple days, but we'll just start with the basics here. Cleveland Guardians pitcher Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz were charged with fraud, conspiracy, and bribery stemming from an alleged scheme to rig individual pitches that led to gamblers winning hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to an indictment unsealed by federal prosecutors over the weekend. Ortiz, 26, was arrested Sunday morning in Boston and will appear in court. It appeared in court on Monday. Clase is not in custody. Prosecutors of the Eastern District of New York, the Brooklyn-based United States Attorney's Office that levied similar charges against NBA players Terry Rozier and multiple coaches in late October, said that the indictment that Clase arranged with a bettor as early as May of 2023 to throw specific pitches for balls so the gamblers could place prop bets and profit. Ortiz, prosecutors said, joined the scheme this past June, and between the two, the gamblers won at least $450,000 wagering on their pitches, while Clase and Ortiz were given kickbacks for their participation. This is where it gets crazy. Clase and Ortiz could each face 20 years in prison for wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for honest service wire fraud conspiracy, 20 years for money laundering conspiracy, and 5 years for conspiracy to influence sports betting by bribery. 65 years in prison.
And
for these two,
he did it for $12,000.
Yeah,
for $12,000
for $12,000.
When he's making when he's going to make $30 million over the next, I don't know how many years.
Yep. And Ortiz was going to make like $750,000. They threw their careers away.
Their life.
The careers, and now as we see, life away for $12,000.
I just that's the thrill you want. That's the level of thrill you're looking for. It's either play stupid games and win stupid prizes, or like if you want to go the whole like they need the extra thrill in their life. Bro, you make all this money. Jump like
go skydiving.
Go skydiving. Like go do crazy things.
Jump off a mountain. Like do base jumping. Something.
I mean, I just can't fathom that reality. But that's when you like look at professional athletes, just rich people in general. Their reality is different than ours. It's just a different level. Everything's heightened. It's the same thing with like gambling. People that make a lot of money, if they put down, they can play $5,000 hands of blackjack. You and I can't do it. We're like, this is insane. But that's just enough to get the juices flowing for people that have that kind of money. So this is the situation.
Pennies on a hand of blackjack.
Yes. But yeah, that's asinine behavior.
That and Major League Baseball, I believe this came out on Monday, has put a $200 cap on prop bets to kind of limit this kind of thing. Baseball has done something.
We're really fighting this thing, huh? Doing a great job.
And also, kind of funny, we've seen one of the pitches that Clase threw, pitch in the dirt, sees Andy Pajes chasing.
That's hilarious. Ruined the bet.
That was entertaining.
Number 3.
Did he yell at him? You cost me $8,000 with that, dude.
Something that wasn't as entertaining. North Carolina coach Bill Belichick said he is focused on Wake Forest after questions about potential interest in the vacant New York Giants head coaching job. God, please don't. During his Tuesday news conference in Chapel Hill, Belichick was asked what his message was to the team given the speculation about the newly opened job. He said, I'm focused on Wake Forest.
That's like all part of his plan. He was going to go to North Carolina for a year. He thought he's going to have success, get picked up by an NFL team, pass the team at North Carolina onto his son, and everybody wins. Come on, Giants. Don't let his evil plan work. Don't let his evil plan work. We'll talk football here in the noon hour when we come back. Braden Surprenant Show, San Antonio Sports Station, 97 to the Fan.
San Diego, it's time to fire it up. From the beaches to the ballparks, from the Gaslamp to North County, no one knows America's finest city like he does.
You can't just punt on a Manny Machado prime use.
He's a fourth-generation San Diegan, born and raised in the heart of this community. Passionate, opinionated, and always bringing you the real talk on your teams, your city, and everything in between.
Braden totally knows his stuff. He's ready for the next step. That guy is good.
Live and local, it's the Braden Surprenant Show.
But I think Braden's one of the up-and-coming young stars in the media game in San Diego.
Now, here's your host, Braden Surprenant.
All right, get to the noon lunchtime hour here on a Wednesday. And remember to listen in an hour. Listen at 1 o'clock for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. Register your name at 973thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. We got an update on this UCLA situation. They want to be... they want to play at SoFi Stadium. I just that stuff is crazy. But here's kind of the legalities of what happened today. Here's what happened. So UCLA has played its home football games at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena since 1982. They left the Coliseum to go to the Rose Bowl because they were tired of being third fiddle at the Coliseum. The city of Pasadena and the Rose Bowl operating company claim that UCLA is contractually bound to continue doing so through the 2043 season. Their contract runs through 2044. UCLA has been exploring alternative venues, including SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, leading to tensions and litigation. Court hearing today. Judge James C. Chalfant of the Los Angeles Superior Court denied a request for a temporary restraining order. The TRO, which is the temporary restraining order, sought to immediately block UCLA from pursuing or finalizing any move to SoFi Stadium. The judge ruled there was no immediate emergency warranting such emergency relief. Although the TRO was denied, Judge Chalfant suggested the plaintiffs seek discovery regarding discussions with SoFi Stadium and advised them to file a motion for a preliminary injunction, which is a longer-term court order that could temporarily prevent UCLA from leaving the Rose Bowl while the case proceeds. Nima Mohebi, the attorney for the RBOC in Pasadena, said he had already filed public records requests to obtain UCLA's communications with SoFi Stadium. He expressed confidence, citing the judge's acknowledgement that there may be irreparable harm if UCLA and that UCLA may be obligated to pay at the Rose Bowl through 2044. The attorney for UCLA, Maurice Sue, declined comment. UCLA's attorneys argued that the relationship between the university and the Rose Bowl had broken down. Judge Chalfant pushed back, saying UCLA could simply, quote, show up and play football at the Rose Bowl without needing extensive cooperation. What is it, like the Rose Bowl, like a public park? They can show up? Really? UCLA attorneys also argued the lease was a personal services contract, which generally cannot be enforced through specific performance, a legal order compelling someone to perform a contract rather than pay damages. Judge Chalfant disagreed with UCLA's claim that the contract was a purely personal services agreement. He noted specifically performance could apply if UCLA breached or tried to breach the contract. This opens the door for Pasadena and the Rose Bowl OC to later seek a court order forcing UCLA to remain at the Rose Bowl, not just monetary compensation. Interesting stuff out of that. So we will see how that plays out. The best line was like, I don't know why they just can't just show up and play at the Rose Bowl. Brother, do you know how this works? A multi-million-dollar facility, even though it's like might be old, you can't just like show up and play there. There's a lot of things that go about with that. So that is the latest update on the Rose Bowl situation. I haven't had a lot of people really say positive things that I know that are UCLA people that want to see them go to play at SoFi, but this is an interesting thing that we're obviously going to monitor as things play out up there in Los Angeles. But we do need to get to a lot of different things when it comes to football and college football and the National Football League. And we have it scheduled right now, but we got to recap what happened in the NFL with our NFL Whip Around.
We do have to do that now.
On a Wednesday.
Right at this particular moment when I was not expecting us to be doing
curveball at you. What? You had it on the sheet for 12.
I did have it on the sheet for 12. I also had San Diego State opening the show, and that didn't happen either. Let's start with the early game, the Germany game. The 3-6 now Atlanta Falcons falling to the Indianapolis Colts, 31-25 in Berlin. Colts 8-2, looking really, really good. Still.
Looking really, really good. Jonathan Taylor's looking really, really good. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor is the big reason why that team is doing a great job. I think Daniel Jones has come down to earth a little bit. Offensive line for the Colts is top-notch. Jonathan Taylor is top-notch. And the Indianapolis Colts beat another team that they should beat. Atlanta gave them everything they can handle, though, in Germany. And again, we talked about this on Friday going into the weekend. What Atlanta Falcons team were you going to see? You saw a little bit of both, actually, on Sunday morning for the people that are up at 6 a.m. watching that game, Frank.
Which I was definitely not one of them. Interesting stadium they played that game in as well. 6-3 now, Buffalo Bills hosed in Miami, who are now 3-7, 30-13. This was one that we certainly did not have on the bingo card this week.
No, did not have this one on the bingo card this week. That was a big, big survivor pick, I think, crushing the Bills down in Miami. I did mention, though, on Friday, I said, what happens when the teams, when they start the weather from cold weather places, the weather starts to get cold, go down to Miami, they usually lay an egg. And Miami got the Bills. Bills scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, and the Dolphins had the 7-game losing streak against Buffalo with the 30-13 win. If you're a Dolphins fan, like, is Chris Sello happy about that? I mean, at this point, like, what are you playing for? Don't give the Dolphins incentive to keep Matt McDaniel as their head coach. Don't play yourself out of a better draft pick. Come on, Dolphins.
Come on. What are we doing?
Bills got beat up. It was bound to happen.
That's Jets and Giants stuff. The Baltimore Ravens continuing their resurgence, beating the Minnesota Vikings 27-19. Both teams now 4-5 on the season.
Have you looked at the standings, Frank?
They're
Have you
right
looked
there.
at the AFC North standings, Frank?
They're right there.
Guess who's a game out of first place?
Yes, sir.
What's the motto of this show?
Right, but too early.
But too early. The Ravens are going to win the AFC North. I said it like 3 weeks ago. They're going to win the AFC North. The Steelers are not good. The Bengals, without Joe Burrow, are not good. The Browns, we don't even need an explanation. They're not good. The Baltimore Ravens, as bad of a start to the season as they have had, and with the schedule they have coming up, they're going to start racking off wins. And guess what? They've won 3 in a row now. They beat a decent but not great Vikings team on Sunday. They did it on the road. It wasn't the cleanest of games, but the Baltimore Ravens are going to be in the postseason at the end of the season. Look at their schedule. Look who's coming up for the Ravens. We're gonna go to Baltimore for the Army Navy game, and the Ravens are gonna be in first place when we go to Baltimore.
A month from
this is what they got. You ready?
Show.
You ready for this? This is their next 4 games. They got the Steelers right before we get there. They got Cleveland, the Jets, the Bengals, who might have Joe Burrow back by that time because that's a Thanksgiving game, and then the Steelers. I'm telling you, they're going to be in first place. They get the Bengals again, and then they got a tough stretch of the Patriots and the Packers. They got the Steelers one more time where they're better than. I'm telling you, the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the AFC North. They're starting to come out of it. And I know they beat 3 mediocre teams at best, but the schedule is in their favor. Don't count out Baltimore. Derrick Henry has his quarterback back in Lamar Jackson. Good things are on the horizon. Good things are on the horizon for the New York Giants now, right?
Yeah, they are. By the way, a month from today, we'll be doing the show from Baltimore.
I love it.
Giants, after leading 20-10 with 3 minutes to go in Chicago in the snow, do the thing. They lose again for the fourth time.
The Bears.
Exactly. To the Bears.
You got to play it.
Yeah.
It's on the same pot.
Yeah, of course it's on the same pot. Why would I do something? Why would I do a smart thing and put it on different pots, assuming I'm going to play it?
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears.
Bears win 24-20. Giants win because Brian Daboll left in Chicago.
It was only a matter of time before they fired Brian Daboll.
That
guy wasn't he like the coach? Didn't Brian Daboll win coach of the year in his first year?
I believe so, yeah.
Everybody was like, this guy's great.
The rumor was that I believe it was John Mara had to be talked out of firing him after the loss in Denver. And now, again...
But they kept Sheehan.
Yeah, huh?
The GM?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, they kept the GM stays.
I can't pronounce his name. It's Sheehan, right?
I believe so. Daboll goes. He was supposedly fired after the Denver loss, but cooler heads prevailed, was put on a stay of execution. And now the Giants are pondering whether or not to even have Jackson Dart play the rest of the year.
I mean, if he's just going to get killed, there's no reason for him to play the rest of the year. Yeah. What is he playing for? Try to gain some experience?
Exactly. Several injuries, concussion, you've seen enough to know that this is your guy. You're going to be building around this guy. You've seen enough. Let Wilson and Winston get killed. Save Dart for next year.
I want to see Jameis Winston in New York lighten up a scoreboard.
That would be.
I just can't wait for his pregame talks. What a great quarterback room that is.
Yeah.
What an interesting quarterback that room is in New York. Speaking of, they put the game back on. There's Brian Daboll in the snow against the Bears. By the way, they got to permanently go to those helmets.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a way better look.
Yeah, those helmets are better.
On to the next one. 2-game winning streak, baby.
So we just talked about the worst team in the NFL over the last 10 years losing a game. Let's now go to the second worst team in the NFL over the last 10 years actually winning a game. The now 2-7 New York Jets beat the now 2-7 Cleveland Browns 27-20. The Jets are not the worst team in football over the last 10 years. And at the moment, they're not the worst team in New York because the Giants are by a half a game because they haven't had their bye week yet.
How about that? Jets going to win the New York crown. Haven't won that in a long time. The New York Jets. Hey, you know what? They're playing hard, playing a lot better. They also get to play the Browns. So that's neither here nor there. But special teams for the Jets. Get a touchdown return on kickoff and on punt.
Yeah, back-to-back returns.
That was a great call by Eddie Brown in his streaming fantasy defenses because the Titans didn't play. Pick up the Jets. I did. Hammered my friend Will in fantasy. Courtesy of the Jets and Jonathan Taylor.
Apparently, all you need to do in order to start winning games is for your owner to publicly criticize your quarterback. The 2-8 now New England Patriots beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in Florida 28-23. Bucks fall to 6-3.
I was surprised by that result, but now the Patriots are for real. I've talked about that all season long. I love Drake May. I love Mike Vrabel. Now Mike Vrabel in the playoffs has been a little iffy, but you're looking at what a drastic difference the Titans and the Patriots are right now.
Yeah,
seriously. Just an easy coaching change. Patriots 8-2. Drake May, guy's a stud. I kept telling people that. I said on the draft show. I said it on the draft show that we had with Chris Ello and Matt Scraby. I said Drake May is the best quarterback in this draft. He is. He's the best quarterback in this draft. I watched him play at the Holiday Bowl up close. I'm like, this guy's for real. And he is. He's showing he is for real. Last year, off to a rough start because half of his offensive line was backups for the majority of the season, and the guy had nothing to throw to. He's found some relief in Hunter Henry. They've done a good job in bringing a guy like Stephon Diggs. He's a great player. New England Patriots, that's a surprising win. I didn't think they'd go down to Tampa and win. They got the job done. And you know what? They're the best team in the AFC right now, tied with the Colts and tied with the Broncos. Where the Chiefs at?
Yeah,
Where the Chiefs play, bro.
they're Missouri. The New Orleans Saints win a game as the Carolina Panthers, who had been forcing us to say that exact thing in that exact tone, now fall to 5-5 after a couple of weeks of bad losses, 17-7 against the Saints.
That's because we had them in Survivor. I mean, they looked like bleep. I mean, I could not believe some of the plays that Carolina made on instances. I mean, how about this? This is such an epitome of this game. The Panthers line up for a field goal in this game, and they get it blocked, but it goes past the line of scrimmage. You know what that means, Frank? It's like a punt.
Yep.
And one of the Saints guys tried to recover it for no reason. You're going to get the ball back. Just let him down it. He tries to recover the ball. He pulls a Leon Lett, and he touches it. And then the Carolina Panthers jump on the ball. They get a fresh set of downs after getting the field goal blocked. Then they drive down the field. Then they fumble it away. They cough it up. They were just teasing us every single time that they were going to like make it happen at home. I hate the Panthers. I now hate the Panthers. Still alive, though. Still have one pick. At least Seattle cashed in for us on the Survivor. So I have one in the big pool, one in a little pool, and we're going to let it ride. There's down, I think, to 130 entries now on the one that I'm in.
Well, there you
Crazy.
go. Let's start buzzing through
People are
these.
starting to buy picks now.
Oh,
That's
God.
a crazy concept you can talk about later.
Let's start buzzing through these. Houston Texans beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans on a rebound
Surprising
as
to
well, 36-29.
That was surprising. I thought the Jags would win because the Texans didn't have they don't have CJ Stroud, and they were getting their ass kicked at the beginning of that game. And they came back and won to show the Jags are still the Jags, no matter what. Next game.
As you mentioned, the Seattle Seahawks beating the Arizona Cardinals 44-22. Seahawks up to 7-2.
Seahawks doing what the Cowboys couldn't do.
Behind
Beat
Sam
Jacoby
Darnold.
Brissett.
Behind Sam Darnold. Too.
Sam Darnold's having resurrected in Minnesota.
Yep, absolutely. The LA Rams beating the San Francisco 49ers. Niners now 6-4. Rams 7-2. 42-26 victory for the Rams.
Here's a bold statement for you. Rams are the best team in the NFC. They're the best. I know they lost to the Eagles on the road. They had a huge lead in that game, and they choked it away on the road. The Rams are the best team in the NFC. They're better than Seattle. They're better than the Eagles. They're better than Detroit and everybody in the NFC North. The Rams are good.
I'd buy that.
They're legit. The way they've played all season, they're good. Sean McVay's done a great job as the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, they've been good every single year.
Double up on Scoregami this week. The Detroit Lions beating the Washington Commanders 44-22. Same score twice this week.
That is pretty crazy. Washington's terrible.
Yes, they are.
But they don't have Jaden Daniels. I mean, they're struggling without him. Terry McLaurin's out, too. They're just not totally surprising of a game to me.
Sunday night football. The now 5-4 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Somebody with yellow pants had to win, Frank.
Yeah, fall to the 7. Well, no, because we've seen with Green Bay and Dallas, you can tie in this league. Chargers win 25-10 at home on Sunday night football.
Steelers are not good. They haven't been good all year. When they play good teams, they get trounced. The game against the Colts was shocking to me at home. But, it was a classic Pittsburgh Steelers game. They're not good. They're not going to make the playoffs either. What are they, 5-4? I mean, they're hanging around. They got a lot of old players. The Steelers would be really good if it was just 8 years ago, but it's not.
And Aaron Rodgers' wife apparently still goes to the school district on the other side of town. Finally, a low-scoring contest on
Monday Night Football.
7-2 now. Philadelphia Eagles beating the 5-3-1 Green Bay Packers 10-7.
I got to take for this game, but I got to tell you when we come back. I heard something on during national programming on Monday night. I have to address this. We're going to talk about it when we come back as I break down that game. Braden Surprenant Show continues. San Diego Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Stream your local NFL game live every Sunday all season long, starting at just $30 for your first year. That's like $250 a month. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. I do want to mention that this holiday season, too many San Diegans will go hungry. Join 97 through the Fan and support the San Diego Food Bank. Donate food directly online through our Odyssey San Diego Food Fund, where every donation helps feed local families. Go to 97throughthefantasy.com and give today. Talking about the Monday night game between the Eagles and the Packers.
EGALS.
Consonant, vowel, consonant. The last couple of minutes of that game made absolutely zero sense from a coaching standpoint. I had no idea what they were doing.
The only thing I've really seen from that game is that how horrific that false start was on that one tush push on 3rd and 1.
Oh, that was terrible.
That's the only thing I've seen from that game.
One of my buddies asked me, like, why don't you just teach the corner to like hit the tackle as soon as sees the guard go? I mean, like, you could do that, but it's going to be so bang bang that they're probably not going to call it. But also they've protected the Eagles with the tush push a lot, and there's a lot of things wrong with that play. Did you Adam just played for us a clip off the air?
Yes.
I wonder if you could find Sirianni talking about the situation at hand, about that final play that the Eagles ran. I found this interesting. I'm watching the game. I had softball Monday, and I went to the Brigantine for happy hour before. Brigantine's got happy hour like on Monday. It's a great deal, till close. So me and my friend went there, and she's an Eagles fan. So I mean, that's already tough to deal with in general. But so she's an Eagles fan, and we're watching the game. And when Green Bay, it's just the start of the problems that didn't make any sense to me. Green Bay got the ball with 2 minutes and 18 seconds left. They made the stop. They forced Philadelphia to punt. They used their timeouts.
I got it ready.
And they used some of their timeouts. Okay. They have 2 timeouts left, and they get the ball with 2:18 left on the clock. So they got 2 timeouts and the 2-minute warning because the Eagles threw the ball a couple of times and stopped the clock for Green Bay. That was the first part of this clock management that didn't make any sense. So Jordan Love and the Packers move the ball a little bit. They go incomplete, get a 25-yard pickup. Again, they're down 10-7 with under 2 minutes to go. So they make the 25-yard pickup, and they get to the Green Bay 35-yard line. 1st and 10 at the Green Bay 35, 2 minutes to go. They're down 10-7. They go incomplete. Then they convert a 9-yard pass to get it to the Green Bay 44. So it's 4th and 1 at the 44-yard line of Green Bay with 1:30 to go. And the Packers have 2 timeouts. They go no huddle. And if you go back and watch the clip, all of the Eagles players were just yelling inside zone. So based on some type of formation, look, or call that they heard, they're screaming inside zone. They knew what the play was going to be. They're rushing to it, the Packers are. You have 2 timeouts, Matt LaFleur. What are you doing, buddy? They snapped the ball, disaster in the backfield. They're not even set. One of the receivers to the Packers not set. Penalty marker goes, but Josh Jacobs fumbles the football, and the Eagles jump on it. And with the penalty being on the Packers, it's Eagles football. It's Eagles football. It's like, what are you doing? Call a timeout. This is a big play. You still have another timeout left to potentially set up for a field goal. Why rush and go no huddle right there on 4th and 1? It didn't make any sense. So they turned the ball over. And then I'm like, all right, this game's over. Like, it's time. I got to go to softball now. And my friend's like, well, I want to watch till the, like, it's, the Eagles. I want to watch the Eagles win. Fine. I had some more time. Game was at 9. It was around like 8:15, 8. It's right up the street. It's not a big deal. And I'm like, they had 2 timeouts left. Like, they're not going to be able to get the ball back. And if they do get the ball back, it's going to be with like 30-something seconds left. And so the Eagles run a 2-yard play, burn some clock on 1st and 10. It's now 2nd and 8 at the Green Bay 37-yard line. I mean, they're within field goal range to potentially make the Packers have to score a touchdown. Get a 1-yard run, second timeout used by Green Bay, or like the second of the two that they had. So it was the third and final timeout with 1:18 on the clock. And I'm like starting to do math. Okay, they're probably going to get the ball back with like 30-something seconds. Eagles run the clock down to 33 seconds. They call their timeout on 3rd and 7. So they get to 4th down. They call their timeout, after 3rd down. It's 4th down. There's 33 seconds left. It's 4th and 6 at the Green Bay 35-yard line. They kick a field goal and go up 13-7 and then have to kick off to the Packers. But that being said, it's going to give the Packers a little bit better field position on the kickoff. Plus, disasters can happen on field goals. If it gets blocked, anything like that, you're in a world of hurt. You could go for it on 4th down, but if you don't get it, you're giving the ball to the Packers in great field position. Or with a 10-7 lead, and the way the Packers have played offense the entire day, you could punt on 4th down. Pin the Packers back. At worst case scenario, they start the ball at their own 20-yard line. And the Eagles decide to throw the ball on 4th down. It made no sense. It's 4th down and 6 at the Green Bay 35. They throw a bomb to A.J. Brown with 33 seconds left, and it falls incomplete. And so the Packers get the ball at the 36-yard line, which is relatively where they had it before when they fumbled, and it set them up to potentially win the game. It didn't make any sense to me. Now, the Packers are incompetent and couldn't move the ball with 30-something seconds to go. And then they fumbled the bag with their time with their clock management, as they burned way too much time on their 2nd and 10 play, as it got down to 6 seconds when they spiked the ball. And then eventually became 5 seconds. And then it was like this discussion of whether or not they attempt a 64-yard field goal or not. And then all of a sudden, they decided to run a pass play to try to get a couple more yards. You can't really do anything with 5 seconds in general. And then Jordan Love throws the ball into the stands. And now you got 2 seconds. Now you had to attempt a 64-yard field goal, which was never going to be made. I mean, hardly ever going to be made. It got blocked or tipped or whatever, and then the Eagles ended up winning. But it didn't make any sense when the Eagles threw a bomb on 4th down. Didn't make any sense. It made so less sense that they even had to ask about it multiple times. And so now the rumor is, apparently over in Philly, at least what has been reported, that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts were the ones that called this play to throw a bomb on 4th down. So asked about it today, Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, was asked about this situation today. This is what he said.
Square this up, though, because there's been a couple players who have indicated that that it was a Jalen and AJ communication that led to that.
I knew exactly what the play was that we were calling, and that was run in that moment.
So they didn't check?
I knew exactly what the play was in that moment, what we called, and what was
I guess
and what
the
did
greater
happen.
issue is why in the first 59 minutes was AJ never targeted beyond.
Were we in a debate, or is that what? Or
Well, I think that's a fair question to ask.
what's the question?
But why wasn't AJ targeted beyond the first 2 drives, and it took until that moment for you guys to throw it on deep?
Yeah, again, games. If you look at the game and how the game went, there's a lot of plays in that game that are going to them that, for different reasons, don't.
Does that sound like a guy that knew what play was going on that particular time of the game?
It sounds like a numpty.
You know what that sounded like? That sounded like Bill Clinton. It's like Bill Clinton denying allegations about what happened to the White House when he was in there. That's what it sounded like. I did not have. I knew what the play was, when it was called in the game. Come on, man. Nobody's buying that. Nobody was buying that at all. Then you add A.J. Brown on, he's live streaming. He's on a live stream playing Madden, just throwing the Eagles under the bus. He flat out says on the stream, if you got me in fantasy, drop me. Might be a little bit irritated with how he's being used in Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles offense has not been very good this year. It hasn't been great. The clock management was awful in that game. I feel like they're playing with fire right now. I can't imagine them repeating. But that was my take on that. The other thing, too, is I wanted to mention about this game. So I'm driving home after softball, and I don't know who the national guy was, but he was talking about how, Matt LaFleur it should be time for the, he's got his, thick East Coast accent. He's like, it's up to the, now's the time to have the conversation whether or not Matt LaFleur could do the job or not. It might be time to move on from Matt LaFleur because he was like talking about how he was all rattled. This is why it didn't make any sense. As somebody that coaches football, I'm like, I was beyond, I couldn't believe this conversation this guy was having. He thought that because Matt LaFleur was like drawing on his iPad and taking notes on his iPad, that this is what it told me. It tells me that Matt LaFleur's game plan was immediately taken away, and the guy had to make in-game adjustments in the first quarter. You can't have head coaches like that making in-game adjustments. What are you talking about? Coaches take notes during the game all the time. It's crazy. That was a crazy take. Crazy take. Got to fire Matt LaFleur because of... You want to talk about firing Matt LaFleur? You should probably talk about firing Matt LaFleur because of the clock management they had in the final 2 possessions of the game when you're down a field goal. But the whole in-game adjustments conversation, just give me a break. Give me a break. When we come back, we got some overreactions to get to. We also got to talk about the CIF playoffs. They're in full swing. Might talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. We're going to talk about San Diego FC's win over the weekend, college football. Got lots to get to, and we also need a contestant for a midday sports stand-up. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you want to be the contestant, if you take me down in sports trivia, you will be qualified for a chance to win tickets to Sammy Hagar, who returns to Las Vegas with his Best of All Worlds Las Vegas residency. Get ready to rock with your favorite hits from the Van Halen years, Sammy solo hits, and more. Only in Las Vegas this March 11th to the 21st and September 18th to the 26th at Dolby Live at Park MGM. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll get to the NFL overreactions when we come back on San Diego's #1 Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. This hour 97 to the fans brought to you by U.S. Wellness Meats. This holiday serves something truly special. 100% grass-fed beef, lamb, and bison, plus pasture-raised pork and poultry from U.S. Wellness Meats. Sustainability raised, shipped to your door. Get 20% off your first order at uswellnessmeats.com. In the next 17 minutes, we are going to announce today's biggest fan. So be sure to stay tuned and listen at 1 o'clock for us to announce today's biggest fan for a chance to qualify for a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all of the fan staff. Register your name at 97throughthefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about what's to overreact to. A lot of overreaction. Some Monday morning quarterback on a Wednesday. My week's all thrown off after having a Tuesday off. So it's actually Wednesday today. And so it's a Wednesday morning quarterback. Let's get to it.
Time to overreact. All right, here we go. Running back Jonathan Taylor is on a historic pace this season. He's projected to reach 2,378 scrimmage yards, which would rank him fourth all time, and 1,936 rushing yards, potentially putting him close to Eric Dickerson's record of 2,105. He's also on pace for 26 rushing touchdowns, fourth most ever, and 28 total touchdowns, just 3 shy of LaDainian Tomlinson's record of 31 in 2006. Buy or sell, Jonathan Taylor will break multiple single-season NFL records this year.
He's only 3 shy of LT's record.
As far as the pace goes.
The pace? He might break some. I don't think he's going to break multiple. So we're talking about the yardage one and
he's
the
projected
touchdowns?
to reach. He's projected to be fourth all time on scrimmage yards. He's expected to be about 175 off of Eric Dickerson's record for rushing yards. He is on pace for 26 rushing touchdowns, which is 2 off of the total, and 3 shy of LT's overall touchdown record.
I will sell that.
Okay.
I think there's too much he has to overcome to get there. I mean, he's got to increase his pace, and right now he's playing at a crazy pace. I know they play an extra week now, but I would imagine, especially where the Colts are in terms of playoff spot, I mean, there's not even a guarantee he's going to play the last 2 weeks of the season. Yeah. I'm going to sell it.
After an impressive win over the Chiefs in Week 9, the Bills stumbled with a disappointing loss to the lowly Dolphins, hurting their credibility as Super Bowl contenders. Meanwhile, the Patriots extended their win streak to 7 games, moving to 8-2 and taking a 1.5 game lead in the AFC East. The loss could hurt Buffalo in tiebreakers as the Bills are now 2-2 in the division, while the Patriots are 2-0. Buy or sell, the Bills' inability to find help at the trade deadline will cost them the division.
I think it's probably one of the causes. I don't think it's the only one. I think the Patriots have played really good football. I think they're benefiting from the schedule that they have. I think they're a little bit more well-rounded as a football team. I think, honestly, the Bills dropping that game earlier to New England is what's really going to do them in. Yeah. And New England's continuing to roll at this point in the year and benefiting from the schedule. I don't think it's the trade deadline and the lack of ability the Bills had to improve their roster. I think it's more the sense that the Patriots are better than Buffalo. I think it's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So I'm half buying it. It's not really the trade deadline, but they're not going to win the division.
Moving on to the AFC West, let's discuss
the Denver Broncos.
The Broncos escaped with another ugly win, beating the Raiders 10-7, continuing a season of narrow victories despite inconsistent play. Still, they sit at 8-2 atop their division. The Chiefs at 5-4, coming off a bye and poor showing against Buffalo, will face Denver next week in what's shaping up to be a key Week 11 matchup, especially given Andy Reid's 22-4 record after byes. Buy or sell, the winner of next week's Chiefs-Broncos matchup will win the AFC West.
I'm selling that because I think the Chargers are in play more than Kansas City is. I haven't seen a lot out of Kansas City. I really haven't. Even if they beat the Broncos, right, and go up to 6-4 on the season, they're still a game back behind the Chargers, and they're still a couple of games back, or a game back, or 2 game and a half back behind the Broncos. Again, those two teams need to have buys that Kansas City has already gotten. I don't think they've been playing well enough to put themselves in a position to win the division. I think it's slightly different than the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs the Chiefs got to go play Indianapolis the week after that.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Dallas on Thanksgiving. I think that's an interesting matchup. Dallas usually plays well in those games. They got the Texans. They got to play the Chargers. They get a break with the Titans, and then they get the Broncos again. So, no, I don't think so. I don't think that the winner of that game will win the division, because I think the Chargers are in play for that division just as much. And you get a rematch of it on Christmas Day between the Broncos and the Chiefs.
Going along in the same vein, the Seattle Seahawks and LA Rams both earned dominant division wins in Week 10. Seattle crushing Arizona behind a strong defensive showing, while LA held off the Niners' comeback as Matt Stafford made NFL history with his 3rd straight game of 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Now both teams sit at 7-2 and will face each other next week in a crucial matchup for control of the NFC West. The Niners at 6-4 and the Cardinals at 3-6 trail behind. Buy or sell, the winner of next week's Seahawks-Rams matchup will win the NFC West.
I will buy that. I mean, they're right there, both 7-2 on the season. I think the Rams, as much as I think they've played really good football, they haven't played a lot of good teams in the National Football League. But here's the thing. This was interesting about these two questions. Is like both of those matchups happened twice. And what if they split? Like, is there going to be a difference? Here's what the Rams have to finish up the year. They got Seattle twice. They got Arizona twice. They got Atlanta, Carolina, Detroit, and Tampa. So they essentially have 3 of the NFC South teams, which is a lousy division, and the Lions, mixed with 2 games against Arizona and 2 games against Seattle. As for the Seahawks, their final schedule includes, as I'm pulling up right now, they got to play the Rams twice, as mentioned. They have to play the Titans, which is going to be easy. They got the Vikings, the Colts, the Falcons, and they got the Niners one more time and a trip to Carolina. I think the Niners are going to be a little bit more of a challenge to Seattle the second time around than the first time. And Seattle lost to the Niners in the first week of the season. So I think the Rams have a better shot of winning that division. And I think if they beat Seattle, yeah, I think the winner of that game will win the division. The schedules are kind of similar, not gonna lie. So I'll take the Rams winning that game, and I think they win the division after winning that game. It could be a division championship game this weekend.
Sticking in the NFC, the Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels dislocated his left elbow in Week 9 and missed the team's loss to the Lions, making his third straight major injury this season. With Washington sitting at 3-7, their playoff hopes fading, and there's growing sentiment that the team might hold Daniels out longer, even if he is cleared to protect his long-term future rather than risk further injury in a lost season. We discussed this earlier with Jackson Dart. Buy or sell, Jaden Daniels should not play again this season, even if he is medically cleared.
I kind of buy that. I mean, at some point, like, what are you playing for if you're Washington?
Yep.
You know, you're not, if you're going to risk it. Now, if Washington starts ripping off some wins and it gets close, maybe you got to put them in there, but they've lost 5 in a row and they don't look anything. I mean, they don't look like they're going to win a lot more games anyway. You might as well make sure that your quarterback's healthy going into next year and start evaluating some of your problems and, see what you got in the backups. Let Marcus Mariota get some action. They got to finish they got Miami this week. If they lose the game to Miami at home, then they definitely got to do that because this is what the Commanders have. They got the Broncos, the Vikings. They get to play the Giants. They got the Eagles 2 out of the last 3 weeks of the season with the Cowboys mixed in on Christmas Day. Keep Daniels out. Get ready for next year if you're Washington. And that's a look at our overreactions to the NFL season.
Week 10.
Week 10 already. Can't believe it.
Week 11 of college football did not go well for San Diego State.
No, that was rough. That was really rough. They've put themselves really behind the 8 ball. And we're going to discuss that in college football when we come back. But the chances of San Diego State making the college football playoff have been eliminated with them getting their ass kicked by Hawai'i over the weekend. And I want to know how much of it was, losing Tano Latuli the week before. Defensively, I mean, that's one of your defensive captains that leads the team in the middle linebacker, I think might have been a little bit of a factor. But even then, I mean, I don't care about the rain or anything like that. That's why that game was circled as a potential trap game. And that's twice now that San Diego State has gone on the road and gotten smoked. I mean, they went and beat Fresno on the road, looked really good doing that, but they scored 6 points on the road against Northern Illinois and edged out a victory. And then they got absolutely hammered by Washington State and Hawai'i. And Washington State, I mean, the Cougs, they lost to Oregon State. Oregon State lost to Sam Houston last weekend. That was Sam Houston State's only win of the year. It was so bad that there was a fake account out there saying the interim coach for Oregon State lost his job. That'd be funny. Could you imagine how bad you would have to be the interim coach and have to coach the last 3 games, get fired from doing that? College football. Exciting times. I got a lot of gripes with college football when we come back. And we'll talk Aztecs and how they did. They got to try to bounce back against Boise State. Final hour of the show when we come back. 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. And you know what 1 o'clock means, Frank? You've already guessed nap time, and you've already guessed lunchtime. What's your guess today? Snack time?
Oh, well, I've already had my my croissant. I had that earlier.
Where'd you get that from? Did you bring that yourself?
No, they were in the
Croissants?
yeah, croissant.
My friend had a croissant. She had a raspberry chocolate croissant or something like that. Almond raspberry chocolate croissant.
Mm-hmm.
Croissant.
Croissant.
All right. Well, it's not croissant time. You already had your croissant. It would be time for the biggest fan. If you're today's biggest fan.
That was a loud silence.
If you're today's biggest fan, and I announce your name, and you give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973, you will be qualified to potentially win a night in our Odyssey suite at a future Padres game with all the fan staff. Register your name at 972thefansd.com/biggest fan in order to potentially have your name called. Today's biggest fan, Carlos Ramos in Chula Vista. Carlos Ramos in Chula Vista. You have 10 minutes to call in and to be qualified for the biggest fan contest. Carlos Ramos of Chula Vista. You're today's biggest fan. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. If Carlos calls in the next 10 minutes, he will be qualified to win a night in the Odyssey suite for a future Padres game. You got 10 minutes, Carlos. If anybody knows Carlos Ramos in Chula Vista, better get him ready to go. Anyway. There it is.
We have a chance to take the lead here for qualifying the most people because Ben and Woods did not get their qualifier this morning.
People are saying he was already been named. Is there multiple Carlos Ramos?
No, I'm not seeing another Carlos Ramos on here.
Are you looking at the right sheet? They're questioning you, Frank.
I'm looking at the right sheet.
Uh-oh. Did the morning show say the wrong name? Uh-oh.
Oh, wait a minute. No. They're right.
Is he on there twice?
Yes.
Oh, no.
You're right. Chat. Good on you. They are right. That is a duplicate.
I got to see the sheet now.
That chat, you guys are Frank Dupet. I'm not the one that made the list, all right?
No, we get the list from the
we get the list for promotions.
Promo team. Do I have access to this list?
You should. I don't know why you don't.
Yeah, for sure. Biggest fan contest. Yeah, let me take a look at this thing.
Yeah, I gotta send an email now.
It's got the same number too.
Yep, same phone number. Yep.
Wow. Interesting. Anyway. I don't know if that's what do we got here?
Well, I can't
we can't do anything about it. We can't pull other names.
Yeah, I can't just pull another name. I'm sending an email to our promotions now.
Okay, well, we'll put that on hold. Let's talk about while we have the time, let's talk about here's something that happened in high school football. They have announced the they finally got out the dates, times for the championship games. So John Maffey had this report. For the first time in 4 years, San Diego Section Open Division Football Championship will not be played at Snapdragon Stadium. Instead, the Open... Blank screen twice. Instead, the Open Division Championship will be played November 25th at Southwestern College. Kickoff for the game Tuesday is at 7 o'clock. The last 3 seasons, the Open Division featured Lincoln and Carlsbad, Lincoln and Granite, and Lincoln versus Cathedral, all at Snapdragon. Other dates and times and sites have also been set. Division 5 AA and 8-man championships will be played on November 22nd at Escondido High School. Divisions 2 and 5 are scheduled for November 28th at Southwestern College. Divisions 1, 3, and 4 will be played November 29th at Southwestern College. Hoping for a Saturday, November 22nd championship game for the Open Division for CIF. Ran into a roadblock, number 1. Snapdragon is already hosting the San Jose State-San Diego State football game on that day. Understandably, the stadium isn't available on Friday, November 21st. Pushing the Open Division Championship into the next week didn't work for San Diego after San Diego FC beat Portland on Sunday and gave SDFC a conference semifinal home playoff game against Minnesota. The soccer playoff game will take place November 24th at Snapdragon Stadium. With Southwestern College hosting Moore Park in the Patriot Bowl on November 22nd, the college facility was out for that date. Quote, while we hoped to host the Open Division Championship at Snapdragon again this year, the schedule unfortunately didn't align. CIF section Commissioner Joe Hines said, we were hoping to return to Snapdragon in 2026. How about that? Scheduling conflicts. People are all up in arms about the games being on a Tuesday. I don't mind the extra days. When I was a junior in high school, we played on Friday and then had to play on Tuesday. We had to play Friday and then Monday. Actually, I think it was Friday, then Monday. We were playing Black Friday and then playing Monday. You had Saturday, Sunday off, and then we played again at Qualcomm Stadium on Monday. That's how you get to play in some of these stadiums. So that was the latest news we got in the high school football realm. So the Open Division playoffs will play this Friday on, was it the 14th? Is that what Friday is?
Yeah.
Friday the 14th. And then the two winners will then have next week basically off and then play on Tuesday the following week. Who needs Kusa action? We got high school football. Huh? How about it? All right, some of the scores from around high school football before we talk about San Diego State while Frank is dealing with something we've never had happen before.
Our promo guy is in adjusting it as we speak. So.
Making the adjustment. This is what happened. First round of the playoffs in Division 1. It was first round playoffs. A lot of teams had buys in Division 1 through 5. Poway and Torrey Pines. Poway, the 9 seed, upset Torrey Pines, the 8 seed, 27-24. Point Loma beat Mater Dei Catholic as the 5 seed over the 12, 41-7. Holtville drove out to Oceanside, lost 35-14 in the 11-6 matchup. And in the 7-10, it was Rancho Mirado all over Del Norte in that particular bracket. St. Augustine beat Grossmont in the 8-9 in Division 2. Scripps Ranch over La Jolla, 42-0. And in the 12-5, Scripps Ranch was the 12 seed, and they're up 42-0 on La Jolla at halftime, who was the 5 seed. That was a crazy result. San Diego High went out to Imperial and beat Imperial 24-14, upsetting the 6th seed in Division 2. And the 10-seeded San Pasqual Eagles fall to the 7th seed Helix Highlanders 49-27 last Friday. In D3, it was... well, they didn't have all the scores, but Christian beat Brawley and Olympia beat Patrick Henry. In Division 4, Hilltop over Coastal Academy. Eastlake beat West Hills. RBV lost to Mira Mesa, and La Jolla Country Day beat Coronado. D5.
Are you really just going to cruise over the fact that Olympian beat Patrick Henry? What was it, 25-24?
Oh, yeah, that was wrong, too. That was posted in the thing. Patrick Henry won that game 42-something.
Oh, for God's sake.
You didn't even know that was the answer to that?
No.
I'm glad you corrected me. Patrick Henry won that game. I didn't know why I'm reading off the Union Tribune's website for the scores. Half of those aren't even accurate.
I wonderful. That's what we've been using all season. So God knows
who knows how many wrong ones
were.
I got to pull up the CF website. Yeah, that was the controversy. I remember because I was at the game on Friday with. I was at the volleyball game on Friday with Nikki P.
Yeah,
he is a Patrick Henry alum.
Yes,
and he was getting updates, and he was like, and Patrick Henry was up big. And then the score that was posted was that Olympian won. I was like, what happened? And Nikki P's like, no, I checked the Instagram account for Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry won. He's like, first of all, sorry about it, Frank.
So who won any of these games?
I'll go to CIF's website instead. Poway did win. Point Loma won. Oceanside won. RB won and D won. In Division 2, Santa Fe Christian. St. Augustine beat Grossmont. Scripps Ranch beat La Jolla. San Diego High beat Imperial. And Helix beat San Pasqual. In Division 3, Bishops won. They didn't have a score posted on that for some reason. So Bishops won. Madison beat Otay 27-0. Christian beat Brawley 37-16. And Henry beat Olympian 40-21. The Union Tribune had it as The Union Tribune had the score as Olympian winning 25-24, but Henry won 40-21. How about that?
It was 41-21, you said?
40-21,
40 to
Henry
21.
won.
And
And the paper said Olympian won 25-24. This is the problem with pulling stuff off Max Preps because parents just like post scores.
Wait. Hold on. What was the game after Olympian Patrick Henry?
That I mentioned?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
In the UT.
I took it off the
Because I noticed the first game, I think it was the first game in Division 1 or Division 2, didn't have a score.
Oh, two of them didn't have a score in Division 3.
So maybe they just got bumped down the line.
No, because Max Preps had that as the score too. It was crazy.
Wonderful.
Hilltop won, Eastlake won, Mira Mesa won, La Jolla Country Day won in Division 4. In D5, it was Hoover over Escondido. Chula Vista beat Mar Vista. Fallbrook won. Santana won. Division 5 AA, Maranatha and Claremont both won. They'll play each other on Friday. Mountain Empire and Palo Verde Valley both won. They'll play each other also on Friday. Mountain Empire, not as far of a drive to Palo Verde Valley as it was for O'Farrell Charter, as we mentioned, being 3.5 hours to Blythe. So that's a look at the high school football. In 8-man football in Division 6, how about this? It's a great matchup right here. St. Joseph Academy is going to play Francis Parker. Julian Borrego Springs. That's got to be a rivalry of some kind. You would think. They're like right next to each other. Julian Borrego Springs matchup on Friday. That sounds like a hell of a game to go to.
Did Julian play this past week?
Yeah, they did. They beat West Shores 58-52.
No, because I remember, wasn't there
8-man football?
Because wasn't there a big fire up by Julian?
There was, but it was like east of Julian.
Okay.
But yes, they did play. They hosted too. They beat West Shores 58-52.
There you go.
They're playing Borrego Springs, who had a bye. Should be a fun time in D6. We'll talk more about those matchups coming up on Friday a little bit later. Anything you want to recap from the Aztec game aside from that was awful?
I mean,
that was the worst time to ever have a game like that, was right then and there.
Christian Shimabuku, who was our guest on Friday,
he cursed us because he knew he was bad at making predictions.
He said he didn't want to make a prediction, but what he did say was it was going to be a one-possession game, and whoever lost it was going to feel like they won it. He was completely wrong on that one. So it does hold up.
Yeah.
What he said.
He literally wrecked it. As soon as he said the precursor of, I'm really bad at making predictions, and then he predicted a close, hard-fought game won by San Diego State, and instead, what was it? The exact opposite. It was Hawaii kicking their ass.
Blowout. It also didn't help. It was a rainy night.
No, don't make excuses.
No, I'm just saying it's what it was. It was a rainy night after travel. I'm sorry. I got the email. Chris Johnson hurt for the game. Bryce Phillips, who we had on the show on Thursday, boy, he did not have it. He got burned by Jackson Harris on multiple different occasions.
He had a bad day.
Yeah, he had a bad night. And so did Jaden Denigal. He has fallen off a cliff over these last couple of weeks. What was his numbers? I have it up here. 10 for 27, 123 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 7 carries for -7 yards. Now, some of those do include sacks. But Denigal, until a couple of weeks ago, he had only thrown 1 pick, and now he's got like 5 or 6.
Here's my thing with the Aztec game. That as miserable as that was, defense did not show out. I mean, it just was not a good game. And Hawaii played a hell of a football
had a great game.
You're still from the positive standpoint is you're still in control of your own destiny.
You're still
if they beat Boise State on
Saturday.
That'd put San Diego State at 5-1. It would drop Boise State to 4-2. Now all of a sudden there's a crazy tiebreaker for second place in the Mountain West, and you could potentially you still get to host the Mountain West Championship game if you win out your 3 games.
Yeah, because right now Hawaii's got a week off next week. New Mexico, who is 3-2, plays Colorado State at home. UNLV, who's also 3-2 in the conference, has Utah State at home. Fresno State, also 3-2 in the conference, plays Wyoming, and then it's Utah State, who is
also 3-2.
There it is playing UNLV. So this right here, if you want to clear yourself and not really have to worry about the conference championship, you have to win this game on Saturday. You have to. Period.
Oh, that's a guarantee.
Otherwise, you are in a hornet's nest behind you, and it's a 6-way tie, and you could be as low as 7th in the blink of an eye.
And New Mexico's right there.
Yeah.
And you got New Mexico at New Mexico at the end of the year, a team that's undefeated at home, and you're 3-2 on the road. It's mostly the case for all the teams in conference. The only team that's got a good road record is UNLV. They're 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is kind of lousy on the road.
And you don't play UNLV this year.
Right. You don't have to play UNLV this year. But the one thing you don't want to do is get into a tiebreaker hell with schools like UNLV. Now, there is a website that I can mess around with that will give you a lot of different tiebreaker scenarios if you intend lose to Boise State on Saturday, which you cannot do. But the good thing is for San Diego State is they're still in control of their own destiny. Now, in terms of that, yes, they're in control of their own destiny to potentially win the Mountain West Championship. But now with that loss, the Mountain West is out of the college football playoff spot. It's out. Because it was already slim to be the group of 5 representative. You got a break. I mean, the American Athletic Conference helped you out with the teams that lost this past weekend. I mean, Navy lost again. They're at 7-2. Tulane beat, who did Tulane beat? Memphis? They knocked Memphis
Tulane
out of the top
Memphis
spot.
At Memphis, too.
At Memphis. They have a crazy 5-team lead or 5-team race right now in conference. They got Navy, South Florida, Tulane, North Texas, East Carolina, all with 1 loss in conference. And so from that perspective, that's the conference that's going to get the nod. So San Diego State knocked themselves out of a college football playoff spot, which, by the way, was still a pipe dream. Okay, like we're not going to sit here and pretend like it was theirs to lose and they had a really good chance. They did not have a really good chance. It was still slim. But I think the setup of it would be nice to see San Diego State playing a game at home against Boise State in a Mountain West Championship game with a winner goes to the college football playoff on the line. I think that would be the best thing you could possibly do to try to get more people to the Saints. You know what we're not going to do? You just lost a bunch of momentum getting smoked by Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious to see what the attendance is like this weekend.
They got rolled by Hawaii, and that was, again, something they have had 2 games this year where they have had a long travel. It was this game and Northern Illinois. They've scored a combined 12 points in those games. That's not good. That's really, really not good.
There's a lot of things that are a problem with college football, and one of them right now, based on the college football playoff rankings that just came out, has something to do with some of these super conferences. We're going to talk about it when we come back. We'll talk college football as we continue on San Diego's number sports station 97 through the Fan. $124 on a Wednesday. Talking college football here in a second. This hour is brought to you by U.S. Wellness Meats. This holiday, they serve something truly special. 100% grass-fed beef, lamb, and bison, plus pasture-raised pork and poultry from U.S. Wellness Meats. Sustainably raised. Shipped to your door. Get 20% off your first order at uswellnessmeats.com. College football playoff polls came out. College football is a mess for a lot of different reasons, Frank. Who would have thought?
No kidding, huh?
Who would have thought that massive conferences with no divisions was going to be a terrible idea? Who would have thought that?
Not me.
What am I talking about? Well, you have situations in which there's schools that are rising to the top in their conferences that might be set up to play in a conference championship game that are not playing good teams in their schedule. They're playing bad teams. Let's talk about Texas A&M for a second. A lot of people upset that Texas A&M is not the number one team in the country. I heard Maggie Gray say it on one of those CBS Sports Minutes. This is Texas A&M's schedule. Infinity Sports Minute. Yeah, whatever it is now. Infinity Sports Minute. Is it even that anymore, or is it the?
God, if I know.
Is it Westwood One, or I don't even know what it is.
Brother, I don't listen to you, let alone those.
The Sports Minute. The Sports Minute. Whatever the Sports Minute thing is. Maggie Gray. We'll talk about how Texas A&M should be the number one team in the country. For what? For beating Notre Dame? This is the schedule that they played. I want you to alert me when you hear a fired coach. You ready for this? They start the season beating UTSA. Nice. Utah State. Is that a good win? At Notre Dame by 1 point. I'll give them credit for that. They beat Auburn. That looked like a good win at the time. Did Hugh Freeze get fired, or is he going to get fired? Do we remember? I don't even know. Auburn's a disaster all of a sudden. So not a good win. Mississippi State, Frank, they one of the best teams in the SEC? No. In fact, they're at the bottom. They're 1-5 in the SEC. Florida. I got to double check. I thought Hugh Freeze got fired. But maybe he's going to get fired. Yeah, he did get fired. Okay, so let's go back to that schedule. So Auburn fired their coach. Mississippi State, terrible. Florida fired their coach. They played Arkansas, fired their coach. They played LSU,
Who?
Arkansas.
Thank you.
Fired their coach. LSU fired their coach. Well, I don't know. They've said they didn't fire their coach now. He ain't there anymore. LSU fired their coach. And they played Missouri. Missouri, who's 6-3 on the year, 2-3 in SEC play. They played Missouri, LSU, Florida, Mississippi State, Auburn, Arkansas. All of those teams were in the bottom half of the SEC. All of those teams. In fact, you look at that schedule for Texas A&M, they played 4 programs that all fired their coach this year. And it ain't because Texas A&M is just so much better than everybody else. Yet they're number 3 in the country. And people wanted to be number 1 in the country. Why in the world is Texas ranked 10th in the country, Frank?
God only knows.
Because they beat Oklahoma?
Because of Arch Manning.
They beat a Vanderbilt team that was already overrated because of the way that we decided to make rankings. Why? Because they lost to Ohio State? They beat San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston, who was 0-8 until they played Oregon State. They lost to Florida. Did people forget that they lost to Florida? Who fired their coach? They beat Oklahoma. Sick. Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. Terrible. We'll see what they do against Georgia and Texas A&M. They're 10 in the country. For 2 losses. They're 10 in the country. I don't understand the way that we do things in college football. There's so many easier ways to get out of these problems. I mean, the SEC's got 7 teams ranked in the college football playoff. Why is Tennessee ranked? I ask this question every week. As a Tennessee fan, why are they ranked? It makes no sense.
Is Pitt still ranked? Yeah,
they're ranked. How about this? How about the guy in charge of the college football playoff last night talking about how the ACC is basically a one-bid league because we look at what they did in the non-conference, and aside from Miami beating Notre Dame, they haven't done anything. Hello? McFly? Hello? Does anybody remember the fact that Florida State beat Alabama at the beginning of the season? Does anybody remember that? Or we just got to throw that by the wayside? Alabama lost to the 3rd worst team in the lousy Atlantic Coast Conference. Florida State's 1-5 in conference and 4-5 on the season. They beat Alabama's ass. That game wasn't even close. You can't say it was lucky when you got your ass beat. It's not should be a huge factor. But the fact that they just ignored that game ever happened is crazy to me. This whole committee BS is such a joke. I'm so tired of I don't understand. I do understand because it's money. It's all based on money. But the way that they do the rankings just makes no sense. Miami is getting punished. Notre Dame gets more love for losing to Miami than Miami does for beating Notre Dame. That's a problem in itself. College football, dude, what are we doing? BYU gets jettisoned from the top 10 because they lost to Texas Tech on the road. Look, this BYU team's not very good. They're 8-1. Their one loss was to a top 6 team in the country on the road. It's just not all things are created equal. We look at the logos and everything. It's a joke. I do got to ask, though, as much as I love the Big 12, and I'm a little Big 12 biased, what? Utah's 12? What? Utah's best 2 assets are the fact that they lost to BYU and Tech. And they beat, Cincinnati at 10 o'clock at night, Cincinnati time in Utah? They beat UCLA, Cal Poly, Wyoming, West Virginia, Arizona State without Sam Leavitt, Colorado and Cincinnati, and they're 13 in the country? What are we doing? It's so simple. We have too many of these schedules that don't make any sense. We got too many teams don't get me started on Ohio State. I'll piss off all the Ohio State fans. But in what world? Look at the schedule that Ohio State has in conference. I'm glad that they scheduled Texas. Texas is very overrated, but you know what? At least they scheduled Texas. But they played Grambling State, Ohio. They played Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Penn State, Purdue. They finished the season with UCLA, Rutgers, and then finally maybe a contest in Michigan. The schedules are so out of whack because you have these gigantic conferences and everybody's pushing for more money. I mean, the Big Ten's about to commit the worst deal with the devil ever and getting private equity involved. What a disaster college athletics is. It's so simple. It's so simple. Do it what that Fox guy did. I can come up with 1,000 different ways to fix college football for the college football playoff. And you know what I would never do? Have humans who are all biased in their own ways, and there's money incentives, tell me who's good and who's not based on what they saw. Well, we all know, even though Notre Dame lost 2 games, that they would win this. And stop with the hypothetical wins. The SEC is undefeated in hypothetical wins. But the reality is, it's so simple. Have all the power conferences be power conferences together, the 4 power conferences. The top 4 in every conference should be able to go to the college football playoff. Split people in divisions again. At least that way you're guaranteed to play some good teams every year. The only reason why they have these gigantic conferences in general is to make money on a TV contract. Guess what? Split the conferences up in divisions. You still get to run all those same schools. It's time to go back to the divisions. Take the top 2 out of both divisions. Make your top 4. Those are the top 4 that make the college football playoff. Go 4, 8, 12, 16 for the Power 4. Backload the rest with 2 teams from the group of 5. Get you to 18 teams. And then after that, you fill it up with however many at-large you want. So all those SEC and Big Ten schools can collect a check and be mediocre in the college football playoff. It's simple. They don't need to overcomplicate this thing. It's super simple. They just don't want to do it because they don't want to share. And it's greed. This college football stuff is crazy. I just, all of these, I laugh every time I hear this committee and there's we believe that if these 2 teams played now, that then it would actually be a different result now. There's some to that, but at the same time, it's come on. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we come back, we got some local college basketball in town, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend with San Diego FC. They're getting ready for the next round of the MLS playoffs. We'll get to both of those things in the final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. All right. Speaking of the Marlins, I got Marlins news for you, Frank. Marlins owner Bruce Sherman has told several Marlins employees that he fully expects Ace Sandy Alcantara to be on the roster on opening day, but they're also not shutting off talks with potential suitors. There you go.
So
We'll go full circle here. Fernando Tatis Jr. for Sandy. Huh? No, that'd be terrible.
So the news is he's on the team, but we might trade him.
There is no news there.
That's what was said. It is
a Bob Nightingale tweet. So take that for what it's worth.
I told you my rule about Bob Nightingale.
Uh-huh. We heard it.
You heard it. I didn't say it.
I wouldn't say it.
I'm not going to.
All right. We're going to talk about San Diego FC, and we're going to talk about what else did I tease going to break? I forgot already. But I knew we were going to talk about San Diego FC. Oh, the college basketball tonight as well.
Yes.
Throughout San Diego County. We do want to get your phone calls too. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Stephen Poway, you're on the Braden Surprenant show. What's going on, Steve?
Hey guys. I've been listening off and on, so I don't know all the subjects, but the one I wanted to talk about was Arise. And I can't disagree with you guys more. I mean, Arise was a spark plug of this team last year. We would have lost at least 10 more games if he wasn't part of this team. You know, you guys talked about we need slug. You know what? If we had a Manny Machado that actually could hit in August and September and playoffs, and Fernando and the Cronenworth, maybe we wouldn't need that as much. The problem is not Arise. The problem is Machado chokes under pressure. Fernando was terrible in the playoffs, and so was Cronenworth. So maybe if we look within instead of without the out, I think that Arise played a great first base. He's a spark plug for the team. I think that base hit sparks the team. I think it's really important. I guess it's either, get 30 home runs or 60 strikeouts from a guy. I guess what you want. But anyway, I'm totally against what you guys think we should do with the Rise.
I mean, if you got like $25 million to spend, Steve, or $30 million to spend, and you got to get starting pitching, and you got to get some type of offensive power in the lineup, you can't be spending $8.5 million on a guy like Luis Arise. Yeah, you just can't. And there's no fit for him. You've already spent all your money. If the idea is like trying to trade away two guys, maybe to try to free up other space. I mean, he obviously has a problem with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm sure he would like to see, Steve would, to see maybe one of those guys traded. You can't really build a team around Luis Arise. I really wouldn't say he was the spark plug either. I mean, he had arguably one of the worst seasons he has had in his career, and I don't think it's getting better. As much as people go like, well, he's 28, he's in his prime. Is he? Is he really? His metrics are going in a different spot. I think Luis Arise brings value. I mentioned that earlier today. I mean, did I say anything else besides like for $8.5 million, Luis Arise, not a bad fit? It doesn't seem like it fits for the Padres.
I mean, I don't completely disagree with what he said. I mean, with Manny having the August and September that he had, that
Manny and Fernando need to be better.
Help.
He's right on that part.
Yeah, that did not help. But I don't think that. I think that Arise still has too many holes in his game to be able to fill the holes on the team at the moment.
For what the team has in the situation that is at hand, it doesn't make a lot of sense. For how much money he would cost to fit the roles. I mean, what is the role? What is the role that he has in this Padres team, Frank? This Padres team with the I know, but this Padres team with the current roster that is put into place, and the guys that you're paying a lot of money to be on this team, how does he fit in? Is he a starter or a bench piece on this team?
He's a rotational bench player. He's the guy you're going to throw in to give somebody a day off their feet. He's the Jose Iglesias of this team right now.
I mean, you could go through it. Is he starting every day over Manny Machado at third base?
God, no.
Is he starting at shortstop? Absolutely not.
No.
Is he starting in the outfield anywhere? No. Is he starting at second over Jake Cronenworth?
He could, but that would require moving Jake back to first, which he's not a first baseman. He's not your first base answer.
Is he a starting second baseman? No, not really. He's really not. Jake Cronenworth, I think, is better for you starting at second base than Luis Arise.
100%. His big contract value is at second base. It's not at first base.
All that's left is first base for Luis Arraez, right? Because he's not catching. I don't know.
And he's not a first baseman.
All you have left for him is first base or DH. And to me, this team needs more power out of first base and DH. Not a contact hitter at DH or first base. I mean, if the guy could bring a little bit more defensively and with some other characteristics and play middle infield, he's a good middle infielder. $8.5 million as a starter, but that's not what he is. He's a first baseman, right? So at $8.5 million to be a slap hitting first baseman, Padres haven't had a power hitting first baseman in years. And as much as we like to consider some of these stars to be power, they don't have power hitters on this team. I've said that for years now. Like, Fernando is not a power hitter. Would you agree with that, Frank? Just because he hits the ball over the fence and he's got pop doesn't make him a power hitter.
No, he can definitely hit for average. I would say he's an all-around.
He's a pure hitter.
Yeah, he's a pure hitter. He's not a power hitter. He's not a contact hitter. He's
all-around good hitter. That's what he is. Manny Machado, is he a power hitter? No. He's an all-around good hitter. Xander Bogaerts, is he a power hitter? No, not his home run numbers. You go back and look at all of his home run numbers in Boston, he's not a home run hitter.
Gavin Sheets is a power hitter.
Gavin Sheets is a power hitter.
Jackson Merrill is not.
He's not one of the better power hitters, but he's a power hitter. I would consider, right? I don't think Jackson Merrill's a power hitter.
No,
I think he's an all-around good hitter, right? Perfect example of a power hitter. Kyle Schwarber doesn't hit for high average, puts the ball over the fence 50 times. Gavin Sheets ain't going to do that, but he is a power hitter. Ryan O'Hearn is a power hitter. Those are the type of players that you need on good teams to play first base and to be a DH. And so in that capacity, he's kind of a bench piece, right? Like, if Luis Arraez is coming off the bench and spot starting and is a pinch hitter late, like, that makes sense on this team. It don't make sense for $8.5 million, not on the bench. What is the deep sigh for?
I hate Scott Boras so much.
Oh, no.
He was interviewed because of God. Wouldn't he be?
All these meetings he likes to do. I think that Scott Boras looks in the mirror in his hotel and pulls all his one-liner jokes and he goes, ha ha. Do you think he scripts those, or do you think he's got somebody that writes it for him?
I don't care. Whoever it is needs to be fired. The fans in Detroit want the Tigers to build a Tarek barrack. Little Caesars running around town saying, sigh, sigh. It should be Scooby done. If not, the fans would certainly think it's a Detroit doink. I hate you so much.
That is we are in full Scott Boras mode. Full Scott Boras mode. How about this one for you?
This is on Pete Alonso. I think Pete is at the point of his career where he's about winning, no doubt. Had that question a lot. There's no doubt Pete's pursuers are primed to pay the power piper. Pete picked a perfect period to play preeminently at a really primary position. A playoff parched plethora will pounce to participate in the polar plunge. I hate you. Stop.
There's people that are trying to get like some run of the Fernando thing by Bob Nightingale. You ever see like the MLB executive burner? He's got like 23,000 followers. It's just, a guy that throws out crazy stuff. You don't know anything about him. So I find it comical. This is what he called a fun hypothetical, Frank. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Steve Cohen calls Padres ownership and offers to take the contracts of Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts, Yu Darvish, and Waldy Peralta off their books in order to get Fernando Tatis Jr. for a player to be named later. He just basically buys all this stuff off so they could just buy Fernando. That is crazy.
San Diego FC beat the Portland Timbers on Sunday.
They did.
walked the dog on the Portland Timbers. Anders Dreyer showing why he
You don't have
is
Fernando on the Mets?
no, showing why he is the league MVP. Absolutely fantastic play. Amal Pellegrino, very, very nicely done in support. Red card, again, we talked about it a lot. Portland just getting frustrated towards the end of that game in a very, very big way with yellow card after yellow card, culminating in a red card in the 80th minute. So now San Diego will play the number 4 seeded Minnesota United on the 24th, which is why CIF games are not going to be at Snapdragon and instead are going to be in my backyard in Southwestern College. LAFC defeated Austin FC 2-0. They will face the Vancouver Whitecaps in the Western Conference Final, who beat FC Dallas 2-0. On the east side, the Philadelphia Union took down the number 8 ranked Chicago Fire. New York City FC defeated FC Charlotte 2-1. So the Union will take on New York City FC. Inter Miami took down Nashville SC 2-1. And Cincinnati beat the Columbus Crew 2-1. So it'll be Cincinnati versus Inter Miami. 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3 on the West, and 1 versus 5 and 2 versus 3 on the East.
Only one upset.
Yes, one
in the
upset.
entire MLS playoffs.
Yep.
Because even the 8 seeds beat the 9s in the wild card round. This is a winner take all game, correct?
Yes.
All these games?
Yes, these are now winner take all.
So the West will be played on the 22nd and the 24th. East will be played on the 23rd of November. Vancouver versus LAFC, as mentioned before, 6:30 on November 22nd. Then they'll go to the Eastern Conference and have those 2 games play. Philadelphia, New York at 4:45, Cincinnati, Miami at 2, and San Diego, Minnesota will play at 7 o'clock at Snapdragon Stadium on November 24th on a Monday.
But a picture-perfect game from San Diego FC on Sunday night. Perfect.
Coming up next, Tony Wood Jr., Chris Zello, Matt Scraby for Gwen and Chris. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday. More football talk and more later on in the week. Talk to you then.